Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of the 26th of February 2026. We are commencing at 9:02 a.m. And attendance, we have all councillors except the Deputy Mayor. Good morning to you all. I'll now move on to the acknowledgement of country.
Can I, just a point of, is the Deputy Mayor absent today or is she?
I'll get to that to item 4.
Okay, no worries.
Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land and waters we share. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging as the keepers of the traditions, customs, cultures and stories of proud peoples. This morning for the opening prayer, we're very fortunate to have Pastor Tim Spark from Journey Church. Pastor Tim, can I get you to come up to the lectern? Feel free to introduce yourself, Journey Church, and a little bit about yourself before you go into lead us into prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Teresa. Good morning, everyone. How are you all? It's good to see you all, and good to see Jacob and Pi. Pi and I used to be neighbours, kind of, in Redbank Plains. And amazing. Paul, good to see you, and Marnie, and Andrew, David and Jim. A lot of connections, and special thank you to Teresa as well. Happy to see you all, mate. You guys are amazing people, and as a city, we're totally right behind you guys. And every city, well, certainly we're a growing city, and there's always growing pains. Maybe you might remember when you were younger, and as your body grew, you had pains. And I just believe that we're in a time where we have growing pains as a city, which is a good thing. So let's keep that in mind, that the pain is in the growth, not with each other. Amen? Yeah? Good. Across Scripture, we're reminded that civic life matters and it's deeply important to God. Faith was never meant to be something that was closed and personal, because faith shapes how you live, it shapes how you lead, it shapes how you serve your community. And in Jeremiah 29:7, it says, "Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I've carried you. Pray to the Lord because if the city prospers, you too will prosper." And I think that verse reminds us, and particularly the team here today, that civic duty is not just administrative, but there's a sacred stewardship to it. Because the health of this city is determined on how you make decisions today. Today you'll make decisions that will affect families, that will affect schools. Today you'll make decisions that will affect businesses. You affect our community with decisions that you make today. And so I think this is a very important job. And that's why, all of the churches in this city pray for you regularly. At Journey Church, we pray for all of our civic leaders. The first Tuesday of every month, we pray for you. And we certainly love you and support our team here. You have a authority, and there's an accountability to that. And my prayer is that as you deliberate, debate, decide, I'm praying that you do those things with shared commitment. We all know that unity isn't agreeing with everything. Unity isn't uniformity. But I do believe that in debate, in deliberation, we can find what is best for us. What's our way? Not your way, not their way, but what's our way? What's best for us? And so that's what I'm going to pray for today. Cool? Lord, I just pray that as this meeting happens, Lord, as things are deliberated, debated, discussed, I pray, Holy Spirit, that you would, I know that you're here. I pray that you would help lead discussion, that, Lord, things discussed and determined today would cause our city to prosper, that this would be a city known for prosperous families, for prosperous schools, for prosperous community. And so I bless all of our councillors. I bless our mayor today. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you all. Go well. We're right behind you as the church. Cool?
Thank you, Pastor Tim. Always need a round of applause after that. Thank you, Pastor Tim. We now move on to item 4, which is apologies and leave of absence. And the Deputy Mayor has let myself and the CEO know that she's unable to be here this morning with very good reason. And so I'd like to move for a leave of absence for her today. And I can see Councillor Neely put his hand up straight away to second that. Any discussion? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous, and thank you very much for that. Item 5, condolences. There are none. Item 6, tributes. There are none. Item 7, presentation of petitions. Item 8, presentations and deputations. The Deputy Mayor does have one, but I think we'll do that next month. But I do have one for today, which is the that our council received a Silver in the Better Future, I'll just put this up, Silver in the Better Future World Design Awards for 2026 for Nicholas Street Precinct. And once again, we celebrate a project that has truly reshaped the heart of our city. Today, we recognise the outstanding achievements of earning Silver in the Better Future World Design Awards for 2026 for wayfinding in the Nicholas Street Precinct. It is an honour that places Ipswich on the global stage, and it reflects the extraordinary vision and the dedication behind this precinct. Clear, intuitive wayfinding may seem simple on the surface, but it is the backbone of a welcoming people-first city centre. And thanks to the thoughtful design crafted for this precinct, more than 2 million visitations over the past year have been able to explore our libraries, civic spaces, dining, entertainment and council facilities with ease. At its core, this award reflects that our community, what our community already experiences, which is our CBD that welcomes you in, and it's a place that's brought real life and togetherness back to our city heart. Council has delivered a precinct that continues to earn accolades from industry experts, urban designers, and now international judges. More importantly, we've delivered a place that our community is proud to call its own. So on behalf of the City of Ipswich, it's an honour to present this award to you, CEO, for safekeeping with our council. Thank you. And thank you for your team. I think the council team and others that are involved, the architects and so on, were also listed on that award. So you can see it's a truly group effort.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 9 is public participation, and there is none. Item 10, matters of public interest, there are none. At this stage, I have no declarations of interest on the matters of the agenda, but I'll open it up. Are there any declarations of interest on matters on the agenda? None? Okay, thank you. I'll now go on to item 12, confirmation of minutes, and 12.1 is the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 29th of January 2026. So I'll move those. Do I have a seconder for those? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Any errors, amendments, corrections? No, I'll put those to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Item 13, a mayoral minute, there is none. 14, business outstanding, there is none. So we'll move on to item 15, which is the reception and consideration of committee reports. The first one is the report of the Audit and Risk Management Committee of the 11th of February 2026. I'm happy to move that. I observe that. And Councillor Antonelli, do you wish to second that? You are
Yes, please.
a committee member?
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't wish to speak to it. I don't know if yourself, Councillor, do you wish to speak to that? I think the report's self-explanatory.
Yes, I'm satisfied with the content of the report.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Next item is 15.2, the report of the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee of the 17th of February. And I think, would it be all items but 3? Councillor Antonelli, I'll hand over to yourself.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee number 2026-01, dated the 17th of February 2026, for reception and adoption, with the exception of item 3 of that report, which will, I understand, be moved separately.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for 15.2 with orders of Councillor Martin? Thank you. Councillor Antonelli, would you like to speak to the report that you on the committee that you chair?
As the first report of the year, or the first committee of the year, not much to report on, although I will highlight very briefly the officer's report number 2, Asset and Infrastructure Services Capital Delivery Report. It's just pleasing to know that we are on budget with respect to the delivery of our capital works, that is. So very pleasing to report that. And no doubt you will mention a number of projects yourself, Mayor.
Oh, I think I mentioned it in committee, but Councillor Martin, as a seconder, do you wish to speak to the report?
Yeah, just commend the officers for work done and our workers, and would just like to,
briefly just mention Adelong Avenue. Residents of Thaguna certainly very happy at the reconstruction of that road, so yeah, well done there. We have not had an issue since it was completed, so that's really good to hear. Councillor Madden and I used to field a number of inquiries and questions from residents in that particular area, so well done there, and other assets and projects being delivered in the area, so thank you.
Thank you. Open it for other discussion. I'll just mention, obviously, yes, Adelong Avenue has been ongoing for about 4 years. It's a lot of work. We did a lot of design and survey work. We had to put culvert rehabilitation before we could even consider upgrading, and there's probably over 20 driveways with all the drainage on that road as well, so it's great to see. I quite like how this report shows the disaster recovery funding arrangement funds. That's the funds that we get from the state and the federal government for disaster recovery, so I think it's quite good to see that separately. And very grateful to the state and the federal governments for that funding. It's also great to see that at the Blue Gum Reserve with the lighting project that we've been able to reuse the existing poles, so that reduces costs. And also the pavement reconstruction work on Enterprise Street at Wilkaraka has been completed ahead of schedule and under budget. So I think that's, by making it shorter, it means it's less disruption for the residents, so it's great to see. Any other discussion? As the mover, Councillor, do you have anything in reply or just straight to the vote?
I just wanted to thank the councillors for their comments and particularly with respect to Adelong Avenue. I did have the opportunity before the works commenced to see the challenges that we're facing our officers with respect to design, and also our works and field staff with respect to the delivery of that project. So I commend them all very much for the outcome. I also note in that report, and I didn't mention earlier, there were a number of Division 3, in fact a large number of Division 3 projects mentioned in that report, but I just wanted to say, as the Division 3 councillor and the chair of the relevant committee, I had no say in the fact that there were a large number of Division 3. I wish I did. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. We now go to item 3 of that, which is the development application 4335/2011 MAMCE, which is a change minor application, extension to operational period for wood mulching industry, special industry. And I guess that was there's a big discussion at the committee meeting, so I'll move the current recommendation as it stands. And I'll have a seconder, Councillor Augustine. Thank you very much. And I'll just read out that, pardon me while I come to it, and that recommendation that Council refuse to amend the conditions of that development, of that DA.
Mayor, I have an amendment or
Yes.
a variation to it, which I'd like to move at this stage. I've given notice within the last 24 hours, but I'll read that. I think it's gone
Thank
to
you.
the committee clerk. But for the purposes of persons watching, I'll move, when I get the right one, that the following be added at the end of the committee recommendation of this report, the following words: that in accordance with section 254 capital H1B of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the reasons for the decision are: A, Council is not satisfied that the amenity of the area will be protected or enhanced by approving this application. B, the long-term environmental concerns of residents affected by this current development will not be properly addressed by approving this application. C, Council is not satisfied that the ultimate objective of a timely reduction of odorous waste streams will occur by approving this application. D, any possible acquisition of the property and or the business by a third party is an irrelevant consideration as development approvals and conditions run with the land.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? I think Councillor Doyle. Thank you. Look, as a mover, I'm happy with that alteration. Thank you very much for sending that to all the councillors yesterday as well. I'll just check with Councillor Augustine. Are you okay with that one? Okay.
Yes, Mayor.
So the live motion before us, is, I'll let the Secretariat
Just
get up to date.
Mayor, just wondering whether we have the opportunity for questions of officers in relation to the
Absolutely,
matter.
absolutely. I'll just make sure we
I know that we've moved the motion, that's all, yeah.
But in the meantime, you would like to ask council officers questions? Okay, I'll ask the CEO if you could get have the relevant council officers come to the lectern. If I could ask things to be kept to the non-confidential at this stage, and if we do need to go into closed, we can, but yeah.
So whether Mr Brett Davey would like to come forward. May I
Yes.
perhaps just in the interest of transparency for the council, that just to note that further correspondence has been received from the applicant in this matter since the committee meeting. That information has been circulated to councillors, given the matter is on the agenda for the meeting today, and I'm seeking advice on the most appropriate timing and publishing of that correspondence, given its recent receipt. Thank you.
Thank you. Will we address that? You've asked that question?
I was making a statement.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, so council still, I thought you were going to ask us councillors. No, council is
No,
still
no,
assessing.
sorry. I'm seeking advice from officers
Okay.
in relation to the most appropriate
Thank you.
timing and
That would be
publishing.
great. Thank you. I think, Mr Davey, Councillor Dinley had a question, or questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to just go over, and I know that we had nearly 2 hours worth of discussion and questions last week, so forgive me if I do repeat a couple of questions in that matter. So, as we all know, and it's public knowledge, that at the committee, the recommendation of the officers was to approve the application, and there were a large number of conditions associated with that. That's correct?
Correct.
I just also wanted to ask, so DETSI were part of that approval process? They would have been a referral agency, I imagine?
For the actual decision, they weren't a formal referral agency as such, but they have a connection to the application, and we sought their advice in parallel with progressing this application to ensure that we were in step with DETSI's approvals and conditions on environmental authorities.
Now, I understand too that the officers worked quite diligently with the applicant to try and achieve some positive outcomes with respect to the reduction of odours and the like. Is that correct?
Correct, and that's why it required a parallel work with DETSI and WMI to firstly just consider the merits of this request, but then to consider the outcome and the milestones and the parallel effect of DETSI's environmental authority, such that the officer's recommendation included some pretty tight milestones to advance the matter, which is a point of difference to the previous outcome, which essentially just gave a finish date rather than look at specific milestones to outline progress towards the outcome that's sought, being an enclosed facility.
So this application is not just to continue their existing practices, is that correct?
Correct. This application is all about advancing to a new type of process that is all enclosed.
And have the officers, on behalf of council, taken the opportunity to address any of those odour concerns straight away with this process, or is it do we have to wait a long time, an inherently long time?
Yes. So initially, if this recommendation is accepted to approve the application, then there's an immediate level of relief by removing highly odorous waste formally from the waste streams able to be accepted at the site. And then if you look at the milestones, the first milestone is April this year to actually submit the necessary tasks to get through the next level of approvals. So there will be a series of approvals that will be required for WMI or whoever develops the land to advance to a point of having the in-vessel system. So that includes, operational works, building works approvals, and all those necessary flow-on permits. And that's, I suppose, an advancement that's been learnt from some other experiences, that rather than just saying, hey, you've got until this date to complete your approval, to actually outline, well, these are the steps we want you to take in this time, and if you don't achieve those in that time, then you lose the benefit of the approval.
I understand the ultimate milestone is the delivery of in-vessel. Can you explain what the in-vessel process is and what the benefit is of in-vessel?
Of course. So if I start by explaining what conventional composting involves. So conventional composting involves what's called open windrow. So it's an open air on a flat pad. The operator will bring in various materials, largely green waste and soils, and they'll mix that with organic matter, whether that's food and garden organics, or in some cases highly odorous waste like the output from septics, grease traps, or meat scraps, those sorts of things. So they mix that into what's called a windrow, which is a triangular shaped pile of the material, and that sits there for anywhere above 8 weeks. That pile is rotated, and there's a digestion process that happens with bacteria inside the pile. That process, if operating well, gives you that earthy smell, but obviously there are materials that go into that pile in the first place that are odorous in their own right, and of course things can go wrong. The advancement of this site, and it's not new technology, it exists elsewhere, is to do an enclosed facility, and that deals with a couple of things. So part of the issue is when material enters the site, it might come off a truck and it's already odorous. And so this proposal includes an enclosed facility to receive that waste to start with. So it's already enclosed, it's not sitting out in the open. And then the process for the initial digestion of that material is actually enclosed in a controlled facility. The other element of this site is the biogas facility, which is also enclosed. And so if I say conventional or old school composting would potentially take a liquid waste that's already odorous and mix it in an open pit. This solution is to actually put that into a tank and digest it in the tank, which produces gas and some other byproducts. And so those two advancements essentially enclose the most odorous parts of a organics facility.
So when you say it addresses the most odorous parts, will there still be odour?
Yes, there will still be odour, but that will be highly limited. So the odours that leave those enclosed facilities go through what's called a biofilter, so that manages the odours from that element. And then the product that comes out of the composting process, the enclosed composting process, actually ends up in a windrow outside, but by that time the digestion has been undertaken, and so it's what's called maturing at that point. So it's still got an earthy, rainforesty smell, but it's nowhere near the odour of the initial phase of, undecomposed meat products or, grease trap wastes in open air.
Do we actually have any science or evidence to say what the reduction in the odours might be? Or do we know, is there a percentage or anything?
Yeah, and I'd have to refer to others for the actual percentage of reduction, but in terms of this overall process for this application and others, that's where the time and attention has been, to make sure firstly that the technology solution is correct, and secondly that there is evidence that the steps and the changes will have real odour control improvements and will actually result in a better outcome for these sites. And so the technology is proven. The technology is supported by a series of technological experts and reports that run with that. And then the outcome is also supported by the regulated, which is the Department of Environment, Science, Tourism and Innovation. So DETSI have supported this advancement for this site, and there's actually other sites on the same pathway in terms of moving into an enclosed in-vessel scenario.
Would this, I don't know what phrase to use in this instance, but would this be considered, best practice? Is this something that the government wants these industries to move towards? Is it a best practice model or?
Yeah, I would say it's a best practice model. There are sites in Australia that use the same technology. There's a site at the Gold Coast that uses the same technology with the exception of the biogas tank and digester, and it's well used overseas. So it's a proven science and a proven set of advancements for these sites to go beyond what was traditionally an old school pile of waste to decompose in open air.
Look, I know that, from the discussion last week, a lot of the councils were a bit concerned about the length of time to get to that ultimate milestone. What was the period of time again? Was it 3 years? Or the date, perhaps?
Yeah, so essentially the milestones run through to 2028. So that's to carry out the works and complete the approval. So that's June 2028.
So it's 2 and a bit years, is it?
Yeah, so with that in mind, the first milestone is, to seek any other approvals to align, and that's April this year. Then the next one is to get operational works approval, which are your engineering works approvals. That's August 2026. And then the requirement to actually undertake the works, 2027. And so building plumbing approvals in late 2027. So the idea is that they get general progression through those, we call them related approvals, to get to a point of construction.
And what was the ultimate time end date, though, for the completion?
So the substantial completion of all of the building and plumbing works was June 2028.
So a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
The with respect to that, do we normally put timelines on DAs or milestones, if I might use that term?
Not very frequently at all. So there's probably one other application that I can think of, which is another organics facility. We've gone down this path with a slightly different methodology, but it's very rare for us to have this level of control over milestones in a development approval.
If a milestone isn't met, even the first one, what course of action can we take?
So, of course, if the milestone's not going to be met, they could seek a further change to the application. But technically, if the milestone doesn't meet, the thing falls over.
And what action do we then take?
We would, if the processing on site and the activities on site continued beyond that date without having achieved the milestone, then we'd have to take compliance action to get the operation to cease.
Is there flexibility in that?
No, and this is the benefit, I suppose, of these milestones, is they are fixed. So they're going to put them on a very tight path to advance this site. It also puts us on a tight path as well to ensure that when they seek an engineering approval, an operational works approval, that we are able to process that in a timely way, so we're not responsible for the milestones falling over.
I was under the opinion it was about 3 years. Now that we know that it's just a little over 2 years, it's certainly better. So when you say that they are tight timeframes, you're suggesting we couldn't compress them any further? Or would it be impractical to compress it?
I think it'd probably be impractical to compress them, noting that the first time frame, the first milestone is the 30th of April, and the second one is 30th of August.
In between now and the ultimate, in June 28, there's still ongoing enforcement available with respect to any odorous materials or any odour coming from the site. Is that correct? Or who governs that? And how is that governed?
Yeah, so the community can still make complaints through the relevant channels through the pollution hotline, and then if there's a breach of a environmental authority, then DETSI responsible for taking action. If there's a breach of a planning decision, then we will take responsibility, and it might be the case that both agencies have to take action on those matters.
Have we had any particular issues with this operator in the last 5 years?
Not expressly. I'd have to just refer to others on that, but I don't think we've had
as a
any
council. I mean,
as a council.
We can't talk on behalf of DETSI.
No. What I must clarify as well is that if a community member does call our contact centre or through council channels to lodge a complaint about odour, we'll almost always refer them to the pollution hotline to support that function. And so we would lodge a request if someone had complained that there was a planning condition, but as I said, almost all occasions where there's an amenity or odour issue, we encourage the community member to make the complaint through the pollution hotline.
And just one last question, and obviously, and I want to commend the officers for
Thank you.
their diligence in this matter, because they've really, in the initial report, nailed down a number of issues. But where, as the department head, where do you see, with respect to the odour outcomes, and the outcomes for the community, where do you see this landing after, was it June or July of 2028?
This essentially is the new standard that we need to expect in these areas where you don't have open windrow composting. And as part of the work in the directive, the Waste and Circular Economy Transformation Directive, we've been pushing for some certainty that, you know, I'm sure there's a place in the market and in the right location for open windrow composting, but it's certainly not in proximity to the community. The industry's getting down that path as well, because we've seen multiple operators now proposing this technology. So I think after that date, I would be hopeful that this site and a few others in our community are enclosed and no longer doing open windrow composting. And I'm also confident with the advancement that we've made with the new planning scheme that we've reinforced the desire for that to be the choice. It's not open windrow composting in these areas proximate to residential communities.
With the indulgence of the council, two more questions. First, so this is where DETSI wants these operators to go with respect to particularly their proximity to residents. They see this as a solution?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I suppose what you would call the interim relief is the restriction on odorous feedstocks, the highly odorous feedstocks, which have been imposed by DETSI on multiple sites. The first phase is restrict the feedstock, and then the feedstock can only be returned to the sites if there's an enclosed facility that's appropriately designed.
So that the removal of the feedstock should have an immediate effect on the residents?
Yes, and you know, it's my understanding that multiple operators have moved towards restricting feedstock, but yes, feedstock, you know, the feedstock is, and it's hard to quantify this, but the feedstock is probably the majority of the issue, where you've got materials that come into the site that I won't describe, that are some sites are quite disgusting materials. And so that creates an odour. And so if you visualise material that's come out of an abattoir, and this is not specific to this site, I must admit, but in some sites, materials will come out of an abattoir in a tip truck. They'll be tipped into a pit and mixed with an excavator in open air. So you can imagine that generates odour in itself. Now, that material, whilst it's digesting, in the early phases of composting, like to put into a windrow straight up, it will generate odour for a period of time until the bacteria settles everything down.
Satisfied. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I know that Councillor Tully had his light on. Was that?
Yeah, well, I do have.
And then
one
I'll have
question.
Councillor
just
Madden
quickly.
next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If this matters, if the decision is, to refuse the application, the applicant has a right of appeal to the Planning and Environment Court.
Correct.
Is it still the usual practice that the council wouldn't take enforcement action, pending the outcome of that appeal?
It depends on the circumstance. So generally speaking, if the matter is directly and intrinsically connected to the enforcement action, we might have to combine the matters. But if they could be separately considered, in all likelihood, we would need to consider our strategy, but we would consider separate enforcement action on matters whilst an appeal is underway. But in our experience, if you do that, those matters usually get combined by the court, if that makes sense.
Yes, and that was the gist of my question, and you just confirmed that they tend to get rolled into one, so that, and I think most councils in Queensland have that similar approach.
Yeah, and I suppose it's all up to the compliance and enforcement strategy and what you want to achieve through that strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Madden.
Thanks very much, Mayor, and thanks very much, Mr Davey. I just have a few questions. Won't take too long. It has been reported that in March 2021, the Department of Environment, Tourism, Science and Innovation, who is this DETSI that's been referred to in the previous questions, issued a fine against Wood Mulching Industries of $13,345. But interestingly, that fine doesn't appear in the list of enforcement actions by DETSI. Are you aware whether that fine was withdrawn?
I'm not sure whether it's withdrawn, but from my recollection of that time, there were some court disputes around the issuing of those penalties. And I suppose it's got to be noted, and I can't speak on behalf of DETSI, that the issuing of a penalty infringement doesn't immediately mean that someone's guilty of something. There's a suspicion that evidence suggests someone has undertaken something. That person has the choice of paying the fine. They could refer it to the court as well and contest the matter. So I wouldn't be surprised if the matter was contested, but I'm not 100% sure. And if the council would like, I can go and ascertain some more information from the department on that subject.
No, I don't require you to take any further action, but it was good that you explained that when these fines are issued, you can appeal the fine.
Yep.
Next question is, I understand that Woodmarsh Industries applied for and were successful in obtaining a development application for one of these in-vessel containers. And for those people that aren't aware, this is a building, a large building, where you have things like negative pressure to keep the smells in and not let the smells out. When did they apply for that DA? What year?
I might have to refer to my colleagues for an answer on that one.
It's
Madly looking up numbers.
yeah, it's all right. I can wait.
Yeah, but once, yeah, we'll get that answer.
Yeah, what it is, it leads on to the next questions that I have.
Mm. 2019.
Okay. So they applied for a DA to build one of these large structures in 2019. So if I was to drive out to their site today, would I see that building?
No.
Would I see any evidence that building might be built?
No.
Okay. My next question is this thing that we were talking about in-vessel composting. I understand the state government had made that compulsory, but from a certain point, and that's for all the composters in Queensland. When does that law come into place that if they get a load of compost in, it must go into a vessel?
So that is a relatively complex answer, but DETSI have published new guidelines on the way that organic material should be treated, and those guidelines refer to in-vessel technology where you've got highly odorous waste. So that's a relatively new policy position of DETSI. I have to just double check the date of when that came in. And so then the challenge that DETSI have, similar to us, is that there's legacy approvals, and that's planning approvals, as in our approvals, as well as environmental authorities, which is the type of approval that DETSI give, that are on the basis of that old technology and the arrangements before the new guidance came in. So if I can summarise DETSI's effort in this space as I observe it, is they are attempting to remove the highly odorous feedstocks to reduce the impact of these operations on the community initially, with an objective of saying that you can only have those highly odorous feedstocks when it's enclosed, noting that from my understanding of the industry, the highly odorous feedstocks are quite a good revenue line for most of these businesses, so there's an incentive for them to move towards that. And that's, I think, the situation in a nutshell. So when that happens, you might have an existing site that can quite validly continue open air composting. DETSI then put in an additional layer of control to say, hey, that's within reason. And then DETSI and council work together to advance that site to a point where it's enclosed. And of course, there's a range of sites in Ipswich that are in various stages of doing that.
Maybe another way to look at it is this. If a company decided today they wanted to build a new composting facility, greenfield site, nothing there, would they be required to, at some point in time in the future, make that only an in-vessel facility?
Yes, yes. And unfortunately, I've got to qualify that yes, in that some locations it might be appropriate to have a component of or actual open windrow composting. And so in the urban environment and in the Swanbank corridor, it would be my expectation with the policy setting from ourselves and the policy setting from DETSI that if a new proposal came in tomorrow, that we would be assessing that on the basis of it being enclosed, and we would be massively concerned if it was proposing open air. composting.
And the material going into that in-vessel, that building, that covers everything. All organic waste that is used for composting, not just the odorous material, it also covers the green waste, which isn't odorous. Is it the case it all has to go into that in-vessel?
Yes, noting that the Environmental Authority, if you consider that as like a licence to drive, which might have conditions on it, and that condition can include limitations on the recipe. So there might be certain things that just can't go through the system that might be limited.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Davey.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions? Yes, Councillor Martin.
So thank you, Mr. Davey, for your thorough knowledge on the subject. Just to clarify, so suppose we reject the application, you spoke about historic DAs, would WMI still be able to continue with the windrow composting?
No, not lawfully.
So they would have to cease operation?
Yes. Yes, and as alluded to by Councillor Tully, if the outcome is to refuse, I expect they will appeal that decision, and then we would need to consider our compliance steps in parallel with, enforcing the refusal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor, any other questions?
Did you have questions first, Mayor?
I don't have questions. I was
Okay,
going
no
to go
worries.
into discussion, but I'll let the questions go first.
No problem. Just
As the
because
member.
Councillor Madden did raise a very important matter, I think we need to ask, why didn't they deliver the initial DA to build an in-vessel? Have they volunteered a reason why it's taken them to this point, or why now they're coming to us, I guess cap in hand to a certain degree?
Yeah. There's probably two core reflections I'd make on that, being aware of the industry and the work that DETSI, other operators and WMI have been doing. The first thing is there's a fair bit of uncertainty in the organics industry in terms of advancement of organics. We've got our own experiences with transitioning to FOGO. So FOGO, as in food organics and garden organics in domestic collection processes, was going to be quite a significant change for the industry. But there's been a lot of uncertainty in that space, and obviously the situation has changed. So that's changed the narrative around the amount of volume of green waste coming through the waste industry. So there's been no certainty from that perspective. The second part of that is that there's been an evolving narrative around the presence of PFAS in these materials and whether or not those materials can be safely composted and then used to their end market. So there's been a lack of guidance around that. And then on the market front, that there's only a certain volume of compost that gets used in the community. Obviously, we're a growing community, but if you move to a full FOGO system, the compost volumes generated, the green waste generated by the community will increase. The red bin waste will decrease. That will then mean that outputs from the organics industry will increase substantially. And where does that compost go? Like, there's only a certain amount of compost that someone buys for their garden on the weekend. There's a certain amount of compost that commercial operators use. And so they've got to develop another market, which is largely rural. And then there's a cost of these things. So these require substantial capital. And so it is my understanding that when someone makes a choice to move towards this type of facility, they need to invest, in rough terms, $20 million plus of capital. And of course, they'll want certainty that, firstly, that they can make that money back, it's a good investment, and that the market's stable. And so because of all those other issues, the market hasn't been stable.
If I can put that into a couple of words, are you saying that there's been a degree of uncertainty in the industry with respect to the outcomes that
Absolutely.
are needed with respect to organics of all natures, be it food or other organics?
Exactly.
Any other questions of Mr. Davey? No? Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll move into the discussion part, and as the mover, I'll speak first and then obviously ask Councillor Augustine. But in speaking to this, and we obviously, as Councillor Antonelli said, we had a couple of hours on it at the committee meeting, and I think it's important to remember that every one of us produces waste. It's not the waste companies producing waste, it's not council producing waste, it's each and every one of us. And as a city, we have a responsibility to manage that waste safely, responsibly, and importantly, sustainably. That responsibility is shared by residents, industry, state government, and by our council. Acknowledging that responsibility does not mean accepting impacts that could be avoided with better practice. While WMI is not yet required to have its composting facility fully enclosed, the community has been very clear that odour impacts must be minimised as soon as possible, not only once the September 26 deadline arrives. Residents have consistently said that they do not want to see delays for the transition to enclosed operations. In fact, the Public Health Inquiry, which came to us, also recommended that they cease to do the open windrow before the September 26, and I'll just quote something from the Public Health Inquiry, which says, through work conducted in 2023, DETSI identified composting facilities in the industrial area, that is, WMI and Newgrow, as the primary sources of odour in the community. Responsible and sustainable waste management means ensuring facilities operate in a way that protects people's health, their well-being, and ability to enjoy their homes. Putting the community at the centre of this decision means recognising that while the enclosure deadline is set for September 26, residents expect operators to meet that commitment on time and to take all reasonable steps to reduce odour impacts in the meantime. We can acknowledge the need for responsible waste solutions while still being firm in our expectation that operators honour their obligations and transition to enclosed facilities without seeking further extensions. To me, an extension to 2029 is too long for our long-suffering community. I also acknowledge the fact that when you look at DETSI's register enforcement actions against WMI, because they are the regulator for odours, there was a finalised environmental protection matter from 2024, and WMI, that came out because it was found that WMI was not complying with their environmental authority. WMI, based on what we've been given, will most likely take us to the Planning Environment Court if we do refuse it. This is a pity. We have already spent $8 million in the last term to stop and limit waste operators from expanding in our city. And if this costs $1 or $2 million, the opportunity cost is that it costs us $2 million to build a change room for a local sporting club. And it's a real pity that if this is refused today, that we're forced down that route, although they have every legal right to do that. But what's been really clear for many, many years to WMI, that they are one of the main causes of the odours. I believe that pushing forward or taking this to court will be a clear disrespect for our community, and it's certainly a lack of self-awareness. And in my mind, I can't possibly support our community suffering any longer. So obviously that's why I'm the mover of this motion. I'll hand over to the seconder to see, Councillor, if you wish to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, the community want us to care about their health, their safety, and also the long-term environmental impact going into the future. And it's precisely why we care for this. You know, we've had such a robust talks around this issue, and I think from our point of view, we do actually really care about what decision we make here. For me, I'm still not convinced that the health burden on our community can truly be known until a protracted health study is completed, which will need state funding to accomplish that. So, but it wasn't part of the state health inquiry. So I do raise issues with that side of things, and I have previously. But to be honest, you know, the company that is part of this report stands to profit handsomely from their business, but our community are the ones that carry the risk. The community is, you know, they're based only 800 metres away, and I know through the years of going to all of those pop-ups, just how invested they are to get a really good outcome. So for me, I have to be on the side of our residents, our community, and in good faith, I can't be voting for the first recommendation, but I'll be voting as it stands, as how Councillor Tully put it forward for the as it stands, as it is now.
Thank you.
Mayor.
I think Councillor Doyle, you were next.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would just like to start by acknowledging the important role that waste operators do play in society across communities all over Queensland and Australia. We are all producers of waste, and there is a responsibility on all residents to try and minimise the amount of waste that we create. Waste ultimately does have to be dealt with, and so that is where we rely on waste companies, operators to deal with that waste appropriately. This council in 2020 put in place a very firm policy, our waste directive, letting the waste industry know what our expectations are for our community. They had been long suffering. With regard to the proposed amendments, the recommendation put forward by Councillor Tully, that council is not satisfied that the amenity of the area will be protected or enhanced by the application. I completely agree with that. We've heard here this morning through questions with the council officer that a lot of the compliance, should we approve this, a lot of the compliance and enforcement is undertaken by an authority outside of council. It is at that state level, our state local government, DETSI. And whilst they have been very proactive to date, we know for our residents it hasn't been considered enough. It has led to long drawn out, protracted investigations and court action. And our residents are demanding no more. We need to draw a line in the sand, and 6 years, certainly 7 years from a development application is a long period of time to enable a waste operator to move to a best practice position. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I was just going to, before I go to the next one, acknowledge, I think, the previous state government, which Councillor Madden, you were part of, made a whole raft of changes to the waste industry, including changing the regulation where if anyone was going to open up a new composting, it had to be in vessels. So I want to just thank you for your participation, and here you are in council now at the other pointy end. I'll open up for more discussion. Thank you, Councillor Madsen.
Thank you, Mayor. I was sitting in the gallery listening to discussion 2 weeks ago, which certainly was a good, respectful discussion. But I did actually leave a bit confused, so I've been considering the matter ahead of the council meeting. I won't be voting in support of the motion that's currently ahead of us, and I've got a couple of key reasons why. Our officers have recommended that the best path forward for the council is to approve the recommendation. It's meant to give us greater certainty about an end date for the odorous feedstock that would occur on site, and it would give more certainty to the applicant to seek investment for the delivery of their in-vessel technology. And I say that as someone who, in the entire duration that I've been a councillor at Ipswich City Council, I've always been the councillor that lives closest to Swanbank. One thing that I've noticed over the years is when I can't think of the legislative or statutory provision that DETSI has applied previously, but when composting businesses haven't been able to accept those more odorous streams, there has been a noticeable increase in air quality. It is actually noticeably better. So I'm not keen to see that deferred by any potential protracted legal action. While many of you would know, I'm often someone to criticise the shortcomings of the capitalist economy that we live in. I do actually believe that industry requires certainty to attract investment. And I say that insofar as they need their approval so that they can get on with the job of building things. We need a transition to in-vessel technology in our city. Early last term, I went and visited Phoenix Power Recycling with Councillor Island to get an appreciation of that technology. And we've wanted that change for our local government area since then. We want these things to be inside where the air quality is treated and the impact to residents is minimised. So there's all of that, and I just want to really reiterate again In terms of the council, bureaucracy and how it functions, I believe our planning officers give every consideration for what the best outcome is for the residents. Everyone in this building is acutely aware of waste industry impacts and what they've had on the people of Ipswich. And I think that they've made this recommendation with that in mind. It is difficult. I think, certain people in the community want us to always have the legal fight and the legal stoush, but on this matter, I agree with the officers that the best way forward is the recommendation that they gave to the committee 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open it for other discussion. Yes, Councillor Tully?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'll be supporting the recommendation, which includes now the reasons for the decision. And just to explain that by law, if this recommendation, the first paragraph is approved, it does require the reasons to be provided and incorporated in the minutes. It is another difficult planning issue which we face from time to time as elected members. But, in terms of the overarching planning issues involved, I will always stand up for the community. And the community has suffered long enough over many years that I think they would think we weren't doing the right thing by the community if we didn't refuse this application. The position is that this is not a decision of the officers, it's not a decision of a DETSI, it's a decision of the council through the elected members. And we have the right to make the decision in good faith in relation to what we believe is the correct decision. In those 4 paragraphs which were added into the motion to explain the reason for supporting a refusal, there are the ongoing long-term environmental issues and the amenity of the area, as you've mentioned or intimated and as other speakers have raised, and the reduction of odours from waste streams. This has nothing to do at the moment with not moving towards better technology. My view is that WMI have been tardy in their entire approach over a number of years, and that we need to send a message to them and to the community that we're not going to be held to ransom in a way. That might be a strong word, but in terms of standing up as a community, as a council, with the community in relation to this matter. Councillor Martin asked a question about, which was very similar to mine in terms of an appeal and whether or not enforcement action would be taken. And the answer we got was that these matters would roll together probably in the court, and that there would be an opportunity for all matters to be considered, not going back to day one of the original approvals, but most councils take a prudent view where appeals are lodged, that any enforcement action is stayed and not proceeded with until the outcome of the appeal. And I think that's fairly obvious. And that happens in most cases, as Mr Davey said, in relation to the proper way to deal with those matters. The other issue is the questions and the information behind the questions that Councillor Madden raised. They are very, very significant. They were formed in a question, but the answers that we're given indicate quite clearly that there are some real issues of concern and should be of concern to all councillors, in my view, and I would strongly urge councillors to support the recommendation to refuse this application.
Thank you. I know that Councillor Tully, Councillor Martin, Councillor Madden haven't spoken yet. I'll just offer the opportunity.
Yes, if I may, and just
please.
before I do, can I just ask the clerk, are those recommendations, are they part of the initial recommendation, or are they
yes,
recommendation
they are.
two?
So the recommendation is to refuse, and then in accordance with the regulation, we have to provide a statement of reasons. So they are the statements of
The
reasons.
statement of reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
yes,
but thanks for the
you.
clarification.
Yeah, no, wasn't sure whether they were part of the motion per se. Yes, if I may, Mayor, you will recall, and we've already had quite a deal of discussion, but during the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee last week, much time was dedicated to this particular item. Approximately 2 hours, might have been a bit more actually, almost as long as the movie Wuthering Heights apparently. which included a presentation from our development team, numerous questions and discussions, and some of that was in closed session. There is no doubt that this matter is of great interest, and more importantly, the community who have endured years of odour coming from waste operators like the applicant. It's because of these issues, councillors will have their own view and position on the matter. I respect that and acknowledge that when such matters have an impact on our community, such as these operations have had over the years, impacts upon health and lifestyle, there will no doubt be strong positions taken by councillors on such matters. And as I said before, that is to be respected. Mayor, you, my fellow councillors, and those who have viewed last week's committee meeting will recall that the initial report to council was to approve the minor change to wood mulching industries with respect to their present development application, noting, however, there were two particular matters of interest. One was that their present approval had a sunset clause which required cessation of operations approximately 6 months ago, which was tied to a DTMR condition regarding access off the Centenary Highway. And the other was their ability to continue open-air composting of highly odorous feedstock materials until September of this year, a limit imposed by DETSI themselves. You will recall that during the committee I opposed the proposed amendment to the officer's recommendation. You'll further note that I voted for the then amended recommendation, which has led to the formal recommendation here today. A decision at the time which I made as a show of unity for my councillor colleagues. However, since that time I've reconsidered my position. Rather than the go along to get along approach, I've taken further time to go over the report, some critical thinking, the discussions that have been held, as well as the many matters of correspondence and communique that we have received from officers and the CEO subsequent to that committee meeting. It is my opinion, this, in my opinion, is not a matter of just supporting the community or pitting industry versus the community. It cannot be considered along the lines of a win-win either. It is at its core a matter of getting the best outcome, the very best outcome for the health, welfare and lifestyle of our residents. And I fear the rejection of the application could be counterintuitive to that outcome. There is no doubt in my mind that WMI will appeal the outcome that's been mentioned this morning. The reasons being, and the facts without question, are that they are a practising business that will be forced to close, leading to the loss of jobs and a competitive operator in the Ipswich area. Also that there was officers' recommendations to approve and the detailed proactive plan to move them towards industry best practices. Mayor, you mentioned 2029. We heard from Mr Davey that that is actually mid-2028 that they are to have that delivered by. Further, there has been DETSI approval of this process and this application. And also, as was highlighted during the discussion, there has been minimal opposition from surrounding residents to this change, which, as I highlighted, is planned to establish best practice. While I'm reticent to suggest the outcome of the Planning Environment Court, I do fear that we are simply delaying the inevitable, and that as such we are merely delaying the ability of our residents to enjoy some clearer and cleaner air on this matter. Mayor, I'm not pro the waste industry, and my position is not and should not be considered as that. I am pro cleaner and greener industry. We are, We are all contributors to the waste industry, every day indeed. Each week we contribute to it when we place our bins by the curb for collection. This industry is here to stay, and as our population grows, so will the amount of waste. It behooves us to work towards best practice and to work with the industry to make that happen. Here we have an operator, one of the few, who has worked closely and proactively with our officers to achieve that. It has been noted that there has been a lot of uncertainty in this industry, but it would appear that the industry does have some certainty moving forward now, and that's something that we should also take account of. The milestones that have been put in place are the safety net that our residents and this council should rely upon to keep this operator who to my understanding has been one of the better operators over the past 5 years, to keep them honest and on task to deliver industry best practice in 2 short years, with dramatic improvement immediately should approval be granted through the cessation of the acceptance of feedstock on site. I mentioned earlier that there were 2 reasons for the change of conditions. Obviously, one was DTMR. That condition is no longer required as WMI have now formalised access via another entry. The other being the processing of the highly odorous feedstock. The benefit of their application has been that they would voluntarily cease to accept this highly odorous material immediately upon approval of their application, until such time as they have reached their milestone of full in-vessel processing. For those unaware of in-vessel processing, it is considered industry best practice and has been stated that it will reduce odours significantly, perhaps by in excess of 90%. I wish to commend our officers for their diligence and determination to get the best outcome for our community. And as Councillor Madden said, that is something that I think we should all concede, that our officers have done their best to back the community in that regard. And I certainly back their efforts and commend them also to our community for their independence and for backing the residents 100% on this issue. However, I say, what does a decision to reject this application by the elected council really achieve for our residents? It will not produce the surety or certainty, because other like industries, ones that may be perhaps less professional, maybe offenders in the odour stakes, maybe cowboys if you like, they will not be encouraged to make proactive moves to improve their technology and operations because of the punitive stance taken today. Here we have an operator willing to step up, be more professional in an industry that has long gotten by with a lack of professionalism, and actively think about their impact upon the community. Do we want to be known as that council that, given the opportunity to encourage positive community outcomes in our waste industry, we merely, somewhat punitively, said no? Such decisions does not and will not lead to positive gains for all community, but potentially more of the same. I don't support the recommendation to reject the application, but I do acknowledge there is much emotion, concern, and perhaps even indecisiveness on this matter. Rather than throw away hundreds of thousands of dollars that we can ill afford to waste as a council through the Planning and Environment Court, may I suggest that this matter lay on the table to the next meeting, and that we as a council properly flesh out this matter in the best interests of the community first and the industry as a whole. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a point of order. It was a suggestion there that people may be acting punitively. I find that highly offensive.
Yeah.
I've taken an oath of office, as other councillors have. I think it's highly irregular and totally inappropriate for Councillor Antonelli to allege that.
Thank you. Do you wish to withdraw that, Councillor Antonelli? That you think...
I said somewhat punitively.
Would you like to
I didn't say
withdraw-
punitively.
Would you like to...
I don't feel I need to clarify any further. But I do accept that it is an emotional matter.
It's
yes.
an offensive comment?
I accept it's an emotive matter, yes.
I guess I'll look to you, Councillor Tully. You are, but I also note that I think Councillor Tully also asked what could be a procedural motion for the motion to lie on the table. So I guess I'm just seeking clarification. Was that just a comment, or were you putting that forward?
I note that there is a recommendation before us, so, but I just offered it as an alternative.
Thank you very much. You can ask questions at any time, but what I will say, it's now 10:10. No, okay, I'm getting the nod to keep going. Yes, would you like to ask a council officer questions?
No, can I ask a question of a councillor?
Yes, sure.
Could
It's up to them to answer.
Councillor Antonelli if he's ever received electoral donations from the waste industry?
Yes, I have some time ago, but I thought I made that clear that I am not pro the waste industry, I'm pro community.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Councillor Martin, Councillor Madden haven't spoken. If you'd like to, I think Councillor Madden.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention 2 short things, very short things, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank the council officers for the efforts they put into this application. I can tell you it's going to be a rare event that I go against your recommendations. but unfortunately on this occasion I have to go against your recommendations. But I just want to reassure you I've done that after great consideration and considering a wide range of issues. Just wanted to reassure you of that. That's the first issue I wanted to mention, Mayor. The second issue I want to mention was something that hasn't been highlighted. I could have highlighted in my questions to Mr. Davey, but I don't really need to ask him these questions, but I wanted to highlight this point, that the reason we're here today, the reason why we need to go through this is because the development application that originally approved Wood Motion Industries to operate had a time limit on it. That's unusual. You know, when you get a development application, there's not usually a time limit. It's very rare. But it was the case that at the time they needed approval from the Department of Transport and Main Roads to get the approval, and the approval was limited to 10 years, and that expires on the 17th of August this year. Now, what that means is this debate that we're having today is a very rare event, very rare, unique, you could say. It's probably the only time in the history of the Ipswich City Council that we've had to sort of allow a development application to continue. I just hope that people realise this, that when us councillors make our decision on this matter, it is a rare event, Mayor. It's an extremely rare event, and that goes again to our consideration of the advice of council officers that this is such a rare event. That's all I wanted to say, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, would you like to make your views? No?
Thanks, Mayor. As the last person to speak, I too have deep concerns for the community, of the well-being of residents and the smells in the area. I think we're all aware of that. Councillor Madden and I, whilst we're far enough from Roofs and Pond Bank, our area, we don't get that. However, we do have complaints from an operator at Tivoli that does the same. However, that operator does take odorous waste. When they don't have odorous waste, there is no smell, no complaints from community. So I do share the sentiments of my fellow councillors around the table, and I really do respect the fact that we have had really good, robust discussion. It's been respectful, and I really do respect that. I think that's really good. I will be voting in favour of the recommendation of council officers. I also voted in favour of the majority when they come before committee, just by virtue of the fact I thought, you know, it was a sign of unity. However, I've pondered about it, I didn't feel quite comfortable, went over the notes again, and particularly for two reasons. Notwithstanding, it is somewhat concerning. Councillor Madden brought up today that they've had this DA since 2019, so we're talking 6.5 years down the track before something's happened. However, we do now actually have tangible timeframes in place. Brett Davey alluded to that they are strict, that the first one will actually be at the end of April. And I really appreciate the fact that from today, if it was approved, that they would be ceasing to take odorous material and high odorous material, and therefore there would be minimal impact on community. As Brett Davey said, you get that earthy rainforest smell, and I think we all... Beg your pardon? No.
I'll just ask for...
the compost, like smell compost, we all do gardening, and I wouldn't say I use it as aftershave. However, I don't think it's an offensive smell at all. It's certainly not like the sulphur dioxide, rotten egg gas and other smells. Just lost my train of thought a little bit. I do appreciate, as the Mayor said right from the start, this has been a big issue with community, and I certainly support community. However, having said that, WMI issued 1,750 pamphlets, letterbox drop, when the application was submitted, and they said, and I confirmed with my colleagues in Division 4, that they did not have a complaint from anybody of the 1,750 letterbox drop notifications. So I thought that was something significant. They also did that off their own back. They didn't need to do that. They did do that. I'm also conscious, Mayor alluded to, that this potentially will go to court, will cost council money, and just conscious of that. Now, I'm not saying we reject it because I don't want to go to court. I certainly do not think that. However, I just believe the outcomes we're getting at the moment are probably better than if we do go down the path of going to court. The potential not going to have timeframes, and we may still end up with the same outcome. However, it would be very delayed. So for those reasons, Mayor, I'll be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. As the mover, I'll do a right of reply. I'll keep it brief. Look, I want to thank everyone for their excellent questions. I think there are a lot of great questions from councillors, both for and against what is before us today. Can I also give a very heartfelt thanks for the respectful discussion both last week and the meeting that you chaired, Councillor Antonelli, and also today, that everyone gave everyone the space. And I think it's come through too is that it's a very rare time where councillors will actually vote against a council officer recommendation. So I hope no one takes that personally if that happens today, and that we have the utmost respect for the professional views and the amount of diligence that goes on by the council officers. I guess and I just wanted to clarify that I think, Councillor Tully, I think it's on the record that Councillor Antonelli donated $15,600, received a donation from a waste industry, but it wasn't this particular waste operator, it was a different composting operator that gave that donation. Just wanted to clarify that. But for me, I guess in wrapping up, knowing that the impact to thousands of residents in our community, I will be voting to refuse this extension. I'll now put the matter to the vote. Those in favour of the recommendation before us, please raise your hand. It's myself, Councillor Augustine, Councillor Tully, Councillor Doyle and Councillor Madden. Those against, Councillor Madsen, Councillor Antonelli, Councillor Martin. So the motion is successful. I thank you very much. I'll now move, it's now 10:18. I'll move for a 30-minute adjournment. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you so much. See you in 30 minutes. Thank you. let me know. Thank you. It's 10:48. We've just had a 30-minute adjournment. Welcome back. And in the room, we have all councillors except for Councillor Madsen, and the Deputy Mayor has a leave of absence. We're now on item 15.3, which is the report of the Finance and Governance Committee of the 17th of February 2026. I'll hand over to the Chair of that committee, Councillor Tully, to see how we'd like this report managed.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that the Finance and Governance Committee report number 2026-01 be received and the recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I'll hand over to yourself, Councillor Tully, to speak to.
Thank you. Item 2 is probably one of the most significant items here, and something which will be near and dear to a lot of people in our community. It's the recommendation to upgrade our parking meters across the city, mainly in the CBD, of course. The existing meters have been there for some 14 years and they're getting to their end of life. So this report came to the committee last week, and there are a lot of questions that have been asked there. It's an opportunity to get rid of the pay and display component at the moment. Some people will get a ticket and forget to put it up on their dashboard, or they put it on their dashboard and slam their door closed and it floats down onto the floor, and they wonder why they get a ticket when they come back. This is based on the number plate recognition, or not recognition, but number plate insertion by the person, which is a clearer and an easier way to operate. And of course, the use of a credit or debit card will be a feature of that. The report looks at the possibility of using an app so that people don't have to use their credit card in the street. That I see that as phase 2, probably within the next with the current phase, let's call that phase 1, probably in the next few months that will come in, a replacement of the existing machines. And phase 2, which is pay by app and get messages by app. So if you're in a 2-hour zone but you've only booked in for a meter for an hour, you can get a warning on your phone that without having to go back to the meter. I think that could be another 6 months or even possibly up to 12 months. But just to assure people, I get a lot of people who ask, when are we going to that? The other thing they ask, can you follow the Brisbane technology where the first 15 minutes is free as well, as long as you register? So that's another option we need to consider. There's 112 existing meters going to be replaced by 90 new pay-by-plate meters. So I think it's exciting. Well, it's probably not exciting if you've got a particular view of parking meters, but this council keeping up with the technology, and with this recommendation today, a contract should be signed in the very near future. There was an indication by staff that as soon as possible we'd like that implemented following the signing of the contract, possibly in the next couple of 2 to 3 months. And then we'll keep that under review and look at the pay-by-app proposal, which some people would not like at all, particularly if you haven't got a mobile phone. It makes it a little bit harder. But also a lot of people would love that because that's the way technology is heading. Just very briefly on items 4 and 5, the first one, item 4, is the replacement road rehabilitation works at Perga School Road. And there's a recommendation in relation to contingency amounts and additional allocations. These figures, which are in the report, show how expensive it is for councils, 77 councils in Queensland, but every council in Australia. The costs of improving a road, and I've mentioned this before, or building a bridge, are just astronomical. And the same situation applies at the Springfield Parkway upgrade. The report indicates the issues of ensuring that the contingencies that are required in these cases are met. So it's another opportunity for the public to be aware. And we've also, the other thing we've mentioned many times is the CPI increases which apply to families, their basket of goods, their rent, their food and those sorts of things. Certainly don't apply to local government, and local government sort of suffers that, because we have to keep in mind CPI in terms of rating revenue and the costs to individual ratepayers, but that usually bears no relevance to the costs which local governments incur, and the increasing costs every year across not just our city but every local government area in Australia. There's, I won't go into the details, but the item 8 is the appointment of Urban Utilities board members. We've been a member of Urban Utilities for a number of years now, and they have a regular, either an extension of time for existing members or for new board members going on that. There's no individual, they're independent members. There's no individual members who represent our council. But Gerard Pender, of course, a former councillor, he's been an appointee to the Urban Utilities Board. I think things are, for them too. Everything's money. Everything in local government is pretty well money. And the same with Urban Utilities. What they do, of course, is a cost to them, and then as it trickles through, it's a cost to us. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle is the seconder. Do you wish to speak to the report?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to speak specifically to item 2 and further to Councillor Tully's comments and explanation around the smart parking meter and the implementation of that new product. Yes, it will be moving to number plate and an app eventually, so it is a change from current pay and display. Just want to highlight that myself and a number of councillors have raised during our briefing sessions and information sessions around the procurement of this product, that we are very conscious that there are members in our community that still will rely on the physical parking meters, particularly around our hospital and medical precincts. And that we've made it quite clear that, we wouldn't like to see the hard stand meters phased out entirely and moving residents completely to an app functionality. So just want to assure residents that whilst the hard stand meters are reducing from 112 to 90 odd, I believe the reduction in numbers there reflects some of the locations of meters where there were, I think there were no money. Yeah, there was, they weren't being utilised for parking. So, thank you.
Thank you. I support the intent to modernise our parking infrastructure and improve efficiency. And obviously convenience remains at the heart of what we're looking at as well. And I also note that there was an out-of-session briefing. I think a lot of the councillors wanted to be hands-on. I wasn't able to attend yesterday, but I do note that there was a few there. So I look forward to hearing from them on what they thought of the technology, which I think was fantastic, that councillors really wanted to get the feel of it, to see what it'd be like for residents. So thank you for doing that. And I always think that technology should make life easier, not harder, and we should be confident for these upgrade works. It's already mentioned the number of metres that have reduced, but there's been a bit of smarts around that as well. I think clear signage, simple instructions, I think thoughtful placement of the new meters will be essential to avoid confusion. And the pay-by-plate is a significant shift in behaviour. People are used to using the display ticket, and they now have to remember their registration number when they go to pay for it. And I hope that there will be some strong communication, it's my understanding, and education with our community. So that'll be critical for people to adjust to the change and to avoid any unintentional non-compliance. I would like to see the physical meters that are easy to use, and do look forward to in the future when there is the app. I think it's a tremendous functionality when the app does come in, especially with the reminder that it's going to run out in 10 minutes, so you can just do that while you're at the cafe or the shops, or picking up kids, or at the library, or whatever you're doing. That's really handy as well. So I support this direction, and also our focus on keeping systems accessible and easy to use. Thank you. I think, Councillor Taylor, you were next.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just again on item 2, and again we've had a lot of discussion already on with respect to meters, but as Councillor Tully did allude to, it's been 14 years since, or some 15 years since we discussed updating the meters to what they currently are. And at that time, the technology that we're adopting here was only just in its infancy at that time. But it was too big a step at that time to introduce pay-by-plate to the people of Ipswich, having been more used to using the coin-operated meter system prior to that. So we're now at that stage, particularly now that South East Queensland, a lot of South East Queensland councils are using these pay-by-plate meters. And I think that the people of Ipswich will be relatively used to using these types of meters. So the pay and display, as Councillor Tully said, the big drama with that, of course, is you've got to walk at times some distance to a meter and then walk back to your vehicle before then walking on to wherever your appointment or your destination may be. So that will be now avoided. You would have noted from Councillor Tully's comments that the number of meters are being reduced, and that again is because pay and display requires more meters to be put in place with respect to using the number plate as your payment mechanism. You don't need to walk back to your vehicle, so that is certainly going to improve, and the reason why the numbers will be less. The app is a really positive step forward for our city. Certainly these meters and the app collectively will be able to provide us as end users, so the council that is, the data to improve our delivery of parking services around the city, so we can use that data to determine whether or not the time limits and the like are best utilised for the areas where those meters are. So it'll be able to give us relatively real-time data whenever we need it. Councillor Doyle mentioned the matter of coins versus cashless. Certainly what's pleasing is the flexibility of these devices, that we can move towards the cashless in the future as the community moves towards that. But obviously there are still many in the community that prefer to use cash and coins. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else to speak to? Councillor Tully, as the mover, do you wish to?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Doyle. And I'll just re-emphasise that point about the app. Some councils around Australia, we actually found at that session yesterday, have said, oh, let's embrace this app technology. And there's been a kickback in some areas where people didn't have phones, or people in rural areas perhaps had come into town. They couldn't legally park there because they couldn't put coins in, they couldn't put cash in, they couldn't use a credit card. So it was sort of an interesting situation that, you know, paying with apps, can be problems. I guess, if you look into the future, well, things might change, but I certainly won't be supporting, I'll be supporting, the use of apps, but not the only way to pay. Mayor, you mentioned about that out of session, the advice that we had. Yes, that was very good. A lot of questions asked, just so that, because we're in a position as elected members where people ask us, they say, oh, what's going on? How will these work? Is it more complicated? And we're in a good position over a lot of things to be able to provide that feedback to the community, because people are interested in new technology and how it will work and will it affect them. Councillor Antonelli raised the matter of the getting data in real time. That came up yesterday, and that certainly is a real improvement and really important. If I could just mention a humorous story some years ago. People remember the original parking meters, which were a big thing up, and you put the coin in and the thing had come across. We had a problem in this city where money was being stolen. And how it was stolen, our street sweepers used very thin, long blades, and they'd sometimes come off. And the street kids knew how to get those blades and put it into the locking mechanism to open them, to get all the cash out. And now, as I was saying to a guy in his 20s many years ago, I was sort of still complaining about how much the council lost his years. He said, oh yeah, I was the one doing that. I'd already used some pretty colourful language at the time about the people or persons that were doing it, but that's certainly not possible now, and impossible if there's no cash in the machine. So thank everyone for their comments, and I think it's important as councillors too, over the next 6 to 12 months, that we stay on top of this, that as it progresses, get the feedback from the community, and if we need to tweak anything, we can certainly do that.
Thank you. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's unanimous and carried. Thank you. We now move on to item 15.4, the report of the Community and Sport Committee of the 17th of February 2026. I'll hand it over to the chair of that, Councillor Madsen. How would you like this report managed?
As per today's meeting agenda, please, Mayor.
Thank you. So you're moving it. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Augustine. I'll hand over to you do you wish to speak to the matter?
Thank you, Mayor. We had one report on community funding allocations, so I'd just like to credit the officers for the support they give to the community in accessing that funding. Other than that, I recommend the recommendations to the council for adoption.
Thank you. Councillor Augustine, do you wish to speak to the report?
Thanks, Mayor. I did at the committee highlight the funding for the Waitangi Day, which a couple of us attended, and we actually got welcome, especially myself and yourself, to go through the ceremonial welcome of our New Zealand friends. So that was actually quite a lovely and special moment for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Item 15.5 is the report of the Economic and Cultural Development Committee of the 17th of February 2026. I'll hand over to the Chair of that committee, Councillor Augustine, to see how would you like this report managed.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'd like to move that the Economic and Cultural Development Committee report for 2025-11 of 2 December 25 be received and adopted as in full.
Thank you. And Councillor Doyle is seconding that as the Deputy Chair. Thank you. Councillor Augustine, would you like to
Just
speak
get
to the
a point
report?
of order, if I may, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor.
Sorry?
Sorry, what I've got here in my notes is the wrong date. Sorry.
Yes, I thought you would. Do you wish to, the recommendation is that the Council adopt the recommendations of the Economic and Cultural Development Committee, the 17th of February 2026,
Yes, please, Mayor.
and you're happy to move that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Councillor Augustine, Councillor Doyle, you're still happy to second? Thank you. Councillor Augustine, do you wish to speak to the matter?
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I'd like to speak on 3 different items. Firstly, item 2, the Ipswich Cup, which we are giving funding for. And so the Ipswich Cup is widely regarded as the social event of the year within Ipswich. It's we spoke at committee, and both Councillor Martin and myself were on the same page, where it's not a race to stop the nation, but it's a race to stop Ipswich. And we're very proud of this horse race, which for me it's a cultural gathering. You know, it brings together thousands of locals and visitors for the day into Ipswich. We see beautiful fashions, which I don't partake in, but I love to see everyone coming up and wearing all their finest. We've got about 12,000 people that attend this day. This year will be a 160 year of tradition, which is it's a great feat for an organisation, 1, and 2 for a cup, a race. To a horse race. So yeah, I'm very supportive of this one. I was actually at the Turf Club yesterday for another event, and they're really looking forward to this year's event. And then item 3 with the supercars, the Centenary Batteries Ipswich Super 440, is that how you say it? Or is it 440? Which is how's the wording for this?
I think it's the 440.
440? Okay, thanks, Mayor. So motor sport fans would be ready to see the engines roaring, I think, of the supercars returning once again back to the city, which will be later this year. So supercar, the event last year was a real hit with the community, and this is surely to light up the city, I feel. With the sound and the excitement of engines roaring. So I think it'll be great for our motor enthusiasts in our city, which we do see a lot of them, especially with the laps. So we know this is a very good event for our city. And then the third one is item 5, which is the Nicholas Street Precinct for the December 2025. So just a little bit of numbers on that. So the festive period and the St Nicholas Street Precinct December delivered strong foot traffic and digital engagement outcomes across the precinct. December, I think you mentioned it before, Mayor, was we had, within a total period of 12 months, we had 2,453,000 people come through, which is it's a great growth, and also a testament to our offerings in the precinct. So the success also of the Share the Joy campaign reinforces the value of streamlining events with strong initiatives, which we've seen throughout the year within the precinct, which goes to the ongoing optimism and strengthening our community within this local area, but Ipswich as a whole. But on talking about the broader economic developments in Ipswich this month, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the recent community-driven campaign to bring Ed Sheeran to Ipswich. While this was not a council-led initiative, it is important that we recognise that yourself, Mayor, your campaign to deliver real, measurable benefits to Ipswich's economic bottom line. Our businesses also stepped up in a clear and measurable way. The Prince Alfred Hotel brewed the now famous Ed Beeran beer. Rafton Rose made a special ginger Ed biscuit. Floating Images took cardboard Ed to the skies. The Llama Farm welcomed him for a visit. The RAF-based Amberley even gave him a cockpit moment. Warner Music Australia contributed significantly to the large-scale mural that became the centrepiece of the campaign, which I see a lot of people still taking photos with. And I think the most remarkable thing about the campaign is that it didn't cost Ipswich ratepayers a single dollar. It was driven by efforts by yourself, Mayor, and your team, the support of the community, the media, local businesses, the partners who chose to get involved because they believed in the idea. Ed Sheeran's surprise visit and the international attention that followed generated an estimated $3.5 million in earned media value exposure that cities normally pay handsomely for. Local businesses felt the impact. Hospitality venues like Hotel Commonwealth and Rusty Nail were full. Foot traffic increased and many operators reported a noticeable boost in trade thanks to the surge of visitors and the spotlight in Ipswich. I want to congratulate you, Mayor Harding, on achieving this outcome and helping position Ipswich so positively on the national and international stage. But I'm going to say something very cheeky, Mayor. As much as I love Ed Sheeran's music, and yes, I was at the concert on that Friday night, the pink jersey, as lovely as it is, I could have purchased one, but I didn't because there will only ever be one team for me, and that's Glory, Glory Man United. So sorry, Ipswich Town, couldn't wear the shirt. So thank you and congratulations and well done, Ipswich.
Thank you, Councillor Augustine. Councillor Doyle is the seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councillor Augustine's commentary across all matters. I'd just like to remind everyone we have amazing events, ongoing events within the Nicholas Street precinct, and of course news recently that Bluey's returning next school holidays. I don't know if you attended last time Bluey was here. It was enormous. The crowds were crazy, but it was a wonderful time for families. So mark that in your calendars. I just want to call out the new small business breakfast. Thank the economic development team for putting that on recently. It was a wonderful morning, and to see the new businesses feel so optimistic, but also making connections with other local businesses, which is important, I guess, for their overall health and success of their businesses. So that was amazing to see. Finally, I concur with Councillor Augustine's commentary around Ed Sheeran. I think regardless of whether you're an Ed fan or not, or a fan of the campaign or not, I won't go over the stats that Councillor Augustine has comprehensively outlined, but I can speak to it from my own personal view. I was in the precinct 3 nights in a row, out with friends and family, and to see the businesses full and overflowing, but also the public sentiment getting behind the campaign and the excitement. It was really lovely to see, and I think residents really enjoyed it. But I know it was very well received by our local businesses, amazing for our local tourism as well. I personally, when I've travelled on holidays with my family, often attend a cafe or a restaurant where, there might be something displayed on the wall where a celebrity has previously attended and signed something. So it is a great draw card for our local businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I speak to item, I guess the fourth item, the Advocacy Advisory Committee. I think we did note last time a spelling error just from sort of the normal Street Bridge to Norman Street Bridge. I'm just making sure that'll come through. But we had the Advocacy Advisory Committee on the 8th of December to review Council's emerging priorities for the 26-27 state and federal budget submissions. Council's also relayed insights gathered through recent conversations with our state and federal representatives, which was really insightful. And a significant portion of the meeting was focused on major transport needs across the city, including key highway corridors, the Ipswich Central Second River Crossing and the Ipswich Springfield Public Transport Link and the Beta Bus network. We also considered how the upcoming Brisbane 2032 opportunities might strengthen our advocacy, and obviously now with the announcement of the Hilton Garden Inn coming into that puts a whole new ball game, pun intended. The committee also received a progress report on the search for a suitable location for a future synthetics athletics track. Ross Planning outlined the current site analysis and the factors that will guide Council's next steps. We also noted a joint letter from the mayors of Toowoomba and the Lockyer Valley calling for improved regional rail connectivity, including a staged extension of passenger rail from Rosewood to Whithcott. During general business, we touched on several ongoing advocacy items, including funding needs for Redbank Plains Road and the Sinathamby Bridge, as well as the progress of the North Ipswich Reserve. And I just want to thank Councillors Augustine and Councillor Doyle for your kind words. I was also going to mention the campaign. The campaign did start off as a truly simple idea, but it grew into something really big because of our community. What unfolded over the last 10 months has been an uplifting community effort. Residents, schools, businesses, artists, hospitality venues and local organisations all added their own creativity and humour, and that collective spirit is what ultimately brought Ed Sheeran into our city. You mentioned, Councillor Augustine and Councillor Doyle, the economic boost here, and the other real success was the pride that actually sparked in our community, that lightened people's eyes was amazing, and seeing families and friends gathering at the mural, celebrating together, really reminds of how powerful a shared moment can be for our city. I'm grateful to everyone who played a part. You mentioned all the great businesses that got on board, so I won't go through them again, and also the residents who shared the messages online in the campaign that was picked up by local state media and resulting in the whole South East Queensland really getting behind us. From Woodcrest State College to Blackstone, Ipswich, Cambrian Choir, the Leichhardt State School's Deadly Dancers, and to the many local musicians, Damien Johnson, Paulina and many others, and creators who kept the momentum going, a big thank you. Of course, the story reached its perfect finale when Ed not only visited Ipswich to sign his mural, but also graciously accepted the co-mural accolade as well. So it was a fun moment, and I think a real opportunity to thank him for embracing the spirit of our community and recognising the efforts of so many people. I just want to thank, I won't name them to keep them anonymous, but there were 2 staff at my office who put a lot of effort into this, and I want to thank them for the incredible work and the contacts that they used in their long careers in the industry, and the many media companies in South East Queensland who all worked together to bring, there was a real collective to get him here, and so very, very appreciative of that opportunity, and I think it was really great for our city. Thank you. I'll hand over to anyone else who'd like to discuss this report. Yes, please.
I more have a question, Mayor. I haven't done anything to action it myself, but I think we should support the Toowoomba and Lockyer Valley Councils. The first rail line in Queensland connected Toowoomba with Ipswich, and many people will remember before the state of Queensland forgot about diesel locomotives, there was actually passenger rail between Gatton and Ipswich. And just last week I was doing some reading, and a lot of the regional lines in Victoria still, it's not an electrified line, but they still offer a passenger rail solution. So I'm not sure what your plan was, but I think at a future council meeting we should look at supporting that. Because Ipswich has always had a great connection with those 2 areas. And it is quite laughable that in 1980 you could get a passenger train from Gatton to Ipswich quite reliably, and in 2026 you can't. I just find that amazing when you think about the technology and other sort of infrastructure solutions which have been built in the world since then. It really is quite remarkable that in a former Premier called Queensland the smart state. And then we certainly haven't kept abreast of technology and opportunities there. And I do genuinely feel for people in Gatton and Toowoomba who don't have that level of reliable passenger transport. And I can at least say from my own experience, I'm more likely to go to Toowoomba on a social outing. So there's that as well. Toowoomba is substantially better than Brisbane, just slightly not as good as Ipswich. And we should do something about that because that's an important region that the state often overlooks, and that includes our sort of region ourselves. Everything sort of west of Brisbane gets treated like a poor cousin when it's a reliable service that was withdrawn and never replaced.
Thank you. And if I could quote the Lockie Valley Mayor, as when she's trying to, there's no public transport in Lockie, so she often jokes that she's happy to have any type of public transport up there, even Puffing Billy. Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak on a couple of items, Mayor. I think it's great that Council gets involved and supports local community events. Ipswich Cup, as Councillor Augustine alluded to, certainly stops the city. I know Rugby League Ipswich, they have the weekend off, they don't play footy for various reasons. It's always good to go to the Cup, catch up with colleagues, catch up with people from across South East Queensland. So I endorse that, and I think it's really exciting that once again we're partnering with supercars. I'd like to commend the work of Tony Quinn bringing supercars back to Ipswich, and that does definitely put Ipswich on the national map. There is media attention and whatnot that comes from the supercars event, and I'd also like to say I'm looking forward to the hotel over here, the Hilton Hotel. That's a great development for the city. Looking forward to that being full and having other events that actually prop up so that people can come to our city and not only enjoy events in our city, but can actually stay in our city and enjoy what we have to offer. So thank you to the officers for the report.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Do you want to reply? I'm getting...
No, thanks, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. We're now on to item 15.6, the report of the Environment Sustainability Committee, the 17th of February 2026. I'll hand over to that chair. Councillor Madden, how would you like that report managed?
I'd move that the report of the Environment Sustainability Committee number 2026-01 of 17 February 2026 be received and the recommendation be accepted.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Martin? Thank you. Would you like to speak to the...
I would, Mayor. I'd just like to briefly mention the four reports that were, the four officers' reports that were dealt with at the committee meeting where we dealt with this report. The first one was the 2025 Environmental Event Highlights Report. This was a report outlining a summary of the environmental events held during 2025, highlighting key events and campaigns delivered across the year, and an overview of the planned dates for 2026. Mayor, the second report I'd like to mention is the 2025 Sustainable Ipswich Overview Report. This was a report concerning the Sustainable Ipswich Overview. The third report I'd like to mention is the Off-Site Stormwater Quality Improvement Program Annual Reports for 2 years, 2023 to 24 and 2024 to 25. This is a report concerning the Off-Site Stormwater Quality Improvement Program, the program formerly known as the Stormwater Quality Offsets Program, and its annual report. The final report I'd like to mention, Mayor, is the Environment and Sustainability Department Capital Delivery Program, October to December 2025. This is a report concerning the performance of the Capital Delivery Program by the Environment and Sustainability Department for the period October to December 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Martin is the second. Do you wish to speak to the report?
Oh, just briefly, Mayor, I think it's good that Council's undertaking repair works to the stormwater system. There were extensive works done down at Blackwell Street, Division 3, just lately, and I know it causes a fair bit of community concern. We have an ageing city. We're 166 years old this year, and some of our pipe infrastructures are older, unbelievably, than Councillor, well, a couple, I won't mention any names around the table, and some of the people here at this table. So some of our assets are certainly, way past their use-by date. So sometimes council has to spend money on things. I just think it's important that the general public understand that council aren't just looking after the assets we have, we are constantly replacing and upgrading what we have. So just commend once again the work of officers to highlight the need when it arises for replacing our assets.
Thank you. Speaking to this report, I'd just like to highlight that obviously with the off-site stormwater quality improvement program annual report for 23-24 and 24-25, the report did highlight that only 41% of collected fees had been spent to date. So obviously looking to see how we can accelerate that, and that's nice to be in that position. But look, this is a program that's delivered strong environmental outcomes for our city, while also maturing significantly in governance and policy over the last 2 years, which is great to see. Since 2014, Council has collected $31.5 million in developer fees and delivered 15 major off-site solutions. These include the award-winning projects like the Jim Donald Parklands, constructed wetlands and small creek naturalisation, which provide not only pollution reduction but also social and recreational benefits for our community. As one of the first local governments to establish an off-site stormwater quality improvement program in Queensland, the program has undergone significant reform with a new corporate policy, guidelines and updated fee calculation methods. Council won the 2024 Award for Excellence in Policy and Education from Stormwater Queensland for the program's review. So while the program is performing strongly overall, the report acknowledges ongoing challenges with resource capacity, an issue, delivery of a new off-site solution not keeping pace with commitments, and a growing gap between fees collected and funds spent. The new 5 to 10 year delivery plan is expected to play an important role in delivering, addressing that delivery lag and the resourcing needed, and as well as the land availability constraints that we're finding in our city. Any other discussion? No? Would the mover like to say anything in reply, or go straight to the vote? Okay, so I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. We now move on to officers' reports, and the first one of these is 16.1, the CEO's Organisational Performance Report for January 2026, and I will move that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Augustine. In speaking to this, some of the highlights here, Council has had some great engagement around the Paperbark Flats and White Rock entry upgrade, with 149 people contributing with their views on how they would like to see that proceed. The upgrade aims to modernise the facilities so they can handle more visitors and give more people a better experience, and we want to make sure that that's being done in a way that still protects the environmental values to make that conservation estate so special. Speaking of special places, construction is about to begin on upgrades at the Ipswich Nature Centre. This is one of Ipswich's most loved places to visit, and these works are about making sure that it stays that way for decades to come. The improvements to the boardwalk and the new animal welfare facility is not only just routine maintenance, they are a real investment in safety, accessibility and the standard of care that we provide for both the visitors and the animals entrusted into our care. On to the Ipswich Australia Day Awards for 2026. It's a great reminder of the incredible people that we have in our community. I met recently with our Citizen of the Year, Ali Brigginshaw, who is football royalty and a fantastic ambassador for Ipswich. We talked about her passion for mentoring young athletes and giving back to the community, and that's, she's backs that all the way. Her commitment to lifting up the next generation is exactly why she's such a deserving recipient, and I'm looking forward to working with Ali on some exciting initiatives this year. Council also, and our community also acknowledged Elizabeth Goff as the Senior Citizen of the Year, Harrison Rule as the Young Citizen of the Year, Auntie Vera Short posthumously with the Cultural Award, and CJ Mulvogi for the Sport and Recreation Award, and the wonderful Springfield Mo Men as the Community Group of the Year. Each of these winners highlights the generosity and the dedication and the spirit of Ipswich. And lastly, I'd just like to note that we now have expressions of interest are now open for the next street patio, which is another way we are supporting local businesses to activate Ipswich Central. This initiative gives eligible businesses the opportunity to transform a car park space outside their premises into a temporary outdoor area for dining, events and a unique customer experience. Is there anyone else who'd like to discuss the CEO's report? Yes, Councillor Augustine.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing I'd like to highlight, which you did as well, just the with the upgrade to the Paperbark Flats area, picnic area. This will transform the space for thousands of nature lovers who visit each month. With the booming population of Redbank Plains and surrounding suburbs, it's more important than ever to provide modern, accessible facilities for our visitors. Paperbuck Flats caters for a wide range of nature-based recreational activities, including bushwalking, which I love doing, horse riding and mountain biking, which I don't like doing. The concept design will create a welcoming environment for visitors to White Rock and Spring Mountain Conservation Estate and increase community connection to the environmental plan, Enviro plan and nature. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up for other. Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to call out item or Part 7, external funding within the CEO's report. I just want to thank the CEO and the organisation around the grant funding work that's done internally at Council. We know that to be financially sustainable, we need to chase down these grant money opportunities to help us fund important projects going forward. And the organisation has gone through significant work in recent years to ensure that we are making ourselves available and eligible for all grants that open. And obviously at the back end, all councillors now have access to that grant application portal within the councillors' portal. So thank you to the CEO for enabling that. But just well done. If you go through the report, you can see the vast amount of applications that have been made. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? In case, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. On to item 16.2, which is the Q2 Q2 annual plan 25-26 quarterly performance report. And I'll move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Augustine. Just briefly in speaking to it, I know we only sort of been through the first half of the year, but I can see that in regards to our deliverables, under our 33 service categories, we have 96.3% that are on track and 81.48% of our budget status on track. So thank you for this report. I know it's mandated legislatively, but thank you very much for the report, CEO. Councillor Augustine, do you wish to make any comment?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay,
I'll leave it
thank
to
you.
yours.
Any other comments? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. It's unanimous and carried. Now we have two notices of motion today. The first one's been brought forward by Councillor Paul Tully, and I do know that you've got an amendment that you share with us and a little map, which obviously will go with the minutes. So I'll hand over to you to move that and for someone to second that, and then I guess then you'll speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor. As it's a notice of motion, I'll move the original motion, and if there's a seconder, I'll then move the amendment. Okay. So I'll move that the motion regarding proposed bus stop outside the Goodna Neighbourhood House I'll just move the adoption of that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Doyle put her hand up first, so I'll let her, she's seconding. Now you wish to go to an amendment?
Thank you. And I'll move that the motion be amended by lettering the existing motion as A and inserting the following wording at the end thereof. B, alternatively, TransLink be advised that a significantly better solution would be a short bus route diversion along Alice Street, William Street and Smiths Road, Goodna, utilising existing bus stops on either side of the eastern end of Smiths Road, adjacent to the Goodna Marketplace Shopping Centre.
I'll just check if the seconder is okay with that amendment. Yes, okay, so that's up there. So the motion before us is A and B. I'll hand over to you, Councillor Tully, to speak to the motion.
Yeah, thank you. That and I know I don't think people watching have the benefit of this, but the map or the aerial view of shows exactly what I mean. The proposal from TransLink is the green line. That's Queen Street. And you can see the two proposed bus stops with the green dots. The one nearer the top is near the Goodna War Memorial, and it's near the shopping centre. And the next one is directly outside the Goodna Neighbourhood House. And there are issues which are incorporated into the original motion, why both of those locations are not suitable. And it was after the preparation of the motion, I realised that there may be, and this is the new paragraph B, a better solution which will be at no cost to TransLink or any costs to the council, and that is for buses coming from Redbank Plains, for example, getting to the corner of Queen Street and Alice Street. That's the corner where most people in Goodna know the Pink Pub is the Cecil Hotel. To turn left there, then right into William Street, and then right into Smiths Road, and then back in Queen Street and over to the Goodna Railway Station. Now, that route actually, it's been identified previously by council officers as an alternative to getting to Centrelink is at the end, at the top end, not on the map of William Street. It's where McDonald's is, which a fair number of people, including myself, know. And you can then turn left straight onto the Ipswich motorway there. So there's a lot of traffic. It wouldn't be unusual to have more traffic. In fact, I have seen buses there in the past, not currently, and you can see the blue dots at the top where the existing bus stops are. Let me say this just very briefly. The two proposed areas in Queen Street have got their difficulties outside the neighbourhood house. They do have a lot of elderly people who go there. There's been also a suggestion, not formally put to council yet, that they should be turned into zones for people who have got disabled stickers. And the one down near the shops in Queen Street is pretty tight as well. There would be a visibility issue actually for pedestrians and vehicles where people were getting on, if the buses were stopping there. So I think, even though I've used the word alternatively in there, I think it is a much more superior way of proceeding, which would take those buses away from the very busy Queen Street. It would drop people and pick them up, probably what you'd say in the commercial centre of Goodna, where a lot of people would be going, and it would provide an opportunity at no cost. There wouldn't be any other requirements, and the buses going north or south can then proceed to or from the Goodna railway station and use that Smiths Road connection. So I'll leave it at that. I'm not making any criticism. This is a sort of thing where I was first contacted about December, where from the neighbourhood house, where they said there were surveyors outside. I didn't know. The councillors hadn't been advised this was even being considered. I also had a complaint from the Parkview. They changed parking adjacent to the Club Parkview into a bus zone as well, and that's part of this process. Well, that's been done. I do notice every day that it's usually full of cars, as it has been, those bus zones for the past 20 years. So I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think it's fairly simple. It's just a request for council officers, council to go back to TransLink, to see particularly that blue line, the alternative way can be the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle, as the seconder, do you wish to speak to the matter?
Thank you, Mayor. Not specifically, but just want to commend Councillor Tully for putting forward the notice of motion. I have been involved in a similar situation along Collingwood Drive after receiving feedback from many residents about the proposed placement of a new bus stop, engaged in dialogue with TransLink and sought support within council. So it can be quite frustrating for residents to receive notification of a new bus stop and it doesn't, in their minds, with their local knowledge, quite make sense, or that there would be a better option available. So thank you, that's it.
Thank you very much. Look, thank you, Councillor Tully. I also support, I think this is a very reasonable approach to raising these potential issues with TransLink regarding the rollout of their new bus stops. In my experience, I found that TransLink is open to hearing about community concerns regarding these new bus stops and exploring solutions, or at least explaining their rationale for each location wherever possible. Unfortunately, sometimes changing the location of the bus stop can incur additional costs, so I do like the other option that you're putting forward. Councillor August and I yesterday morning were at the UDIA breakfast, and there was a representative and executive director from TMR there, and he mentioned the fact that with the Better Bus network that's happening over the 3 years, that there'll be 97 new bus stops across Ipswich. So I'm very keen to speak to the CEO about finding out a little bit more about that, so we can be a bit more proactive. So before TMR spend money on different sites, that will be really fantastic. So yeah, very supportive, and I think this is a great notice of motion. Councillor Tully, thank you. I'll open it up for any other discussion. I'll open it to a right of reply. I'll go straight to the vote.
Just briefly, I think it's important with issues like this to have the community and councillor consultation. Certainly with councillors who are the interface with the community, to see if there are any issues. There have been no physical costs, to date. That these stops haven't been built, but even TransLink said that their desire is that the stops are co-located as far as practicable on either side of a road. So going west or east or north or south, they can't do that in Queen Street, but they can certainly do it if they use Smiths Road and that's the information I received back when I queried this through the council officers, that it's something that they acknowledge that it can't be done in Queen Street because of the way in which the existing width of the road, which varies a little bit between the roundabout and Alice Street, is located.
Thank you. We'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Well done. The second notice of motion is 17.2, a notice of motion of naming, I think this is Nicholas Street, should be Nicholas Street Precinct Car Park. Councillor Madden, you move that, so you wish to move that and have someone second it so that then you can speak to it.
But I want to move the original motion, but I do want to make an amendment, Mayor, so...
we'll move it, and do we have a seconder?
That's right.
Yep, Councillor Madsen, thank you.
Yep.
I'll let you move the amendment.
And the amendment is, it's only with regard to item B of the motion, the original motion. Item A remains as it is, Vicky. And the item B would be amended to read that the Nicholas Street precinct sign above the entrance to the car park off Bremer Street be removed as soon as possible and replaced with a sign that says Telmore Place Car Park. And Mayor, it's important that car park is in 2 words. Oxford English Dictionary, that's the preferred spelling. The not preferred spelling is car park as 1 word.
Thank you.
Just checking if B is correct.
Yeah, B's correct. There. Yeah, that's fine. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just check, Councillor Madden, you are happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Madden, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would, Mayor. As Council states in its website, Telma is the traditional name for the Ipswich area in the Yagara language, with the Yagara, Yugara and Yuripul people being the traditional custodians of the land where this meeting is now taking place. Mayor, that is why Council named the town square west of the Council Administration Building Telmore Place, to honour our Indigenous people of the City of Ipswich. And Mayor, I'm moving this motion for a number of reasons, but mainly that I want to honour the Yagara, Yugara and Yuripul people, but I also want to assist drivers who are confused as to the car park under Telmore Place not being named Telmore Place Car Park. It is a little like if the car park under King George Square in Brisbane was called the Adelaide Precinct Car Park and not the King George Square Car Park. Not just inappropriate, but ill-advised. When I invite people to attend events at the Council Administration Building and ask where can I park, I say the car park under Telmore Place. It'd be much easier to be able to simply say the Telmore Place Car Park. Similarly, I recall listening to a segment on our local radio station, Bremer 94.9, a few months back, advertising an event at Telmore Place, and I recall the announcer saying, the event is at Telmore Place and you can park in the car park under Telmore Place. It'd be so much better if the announcer could have simply said, you can park in the Telmore Street car park. I expect there might be some resistance to my motion, and I'd like to address some of these possible concerns. There has been some suggestion that we should consult with our Indigenous brothers and sisters as to the naming of Telmore Place car park, but I know we've already done that. Black Drum did a investigation, and interestingly, of the various places that were discussed in the report, the car park under Telmore Place was not discussed, and I can only presume it wasn't discussed because it was assumed that the car park formed one in the same building as Telmore Place. I believe our council should take every opportunity to honour our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and I'm a little surprised that this is probably the first time since I was elected in council that we've actually had to make a decision as to the naming of something to honour our Indigenous brothers and sisters. It has also been suggested that my motion would cost too much. Now, I've amended the motion to only deal with one sign, and as far as I can see, there are only 3 signs that need to be changed. This sign at the entrance to the car park, and I've obtained a quote from Signorama, a well-known sign-making firm in Ipswich, and that quote is for $4,942.92 installed. There are 2 other signs that would need to be changed, but they're the conditions of entry signs that are located next to the boom gates as you enter the car park. They say Nicholas Street Precinct, and it'd be an easy thing to simply put a sticker over that to say Telmore Place Car Park, or possibly it might be appropriate to have both names on that conditions of entry. There is also some suggestion that online maps will have to have trouble adapting to the new name. Well, I can assure those concerned people that these maps are regularly updated, and if they weren't, people would not use them. Finally, I'm aware that the council's website and social media pages may need some changes, but I'm confident our skilled staff can cope with this. Finally, Mayor, I hope my fellow councillors will support my motion, which I regard as sensible, an opportunity to assist drivers trying to find the car park under Telmore Place, and a great opportunity for our council to honour our Indigenous brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Councillor Madsen's the seconder. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm more than happy to second Councillor Madden's motion this morning, and I'm more than happy to speak to it. I consider his proposal and his thoughts behind it really quite logical and rational. The example that's been used in some discussion is the King George Square and the car park beneath it. King George Square also has a bus station. I would be still keen to understand the views of traditional owners, but my understanding of language and sort of how things work from a personal perspective makes me think that there is a low level of risk around this being put forward as a change, because the car park at King George Square is not named after King George. It's named after the car park. So it's a derivative thing where it's actually referencing the other thing that is being named after something. And I think, in a way, ensuring that the car park under Telmore Place actually shares the name, I think that clarifies a lot of things for people who don't sort of operate in the circles where they think a lot about the Nicholas Street Precinct and what that is as a council project. Most people who come to Telmore Place, they're not engaging with that sort of content and thinking about that sort of thing. They've got other things to think about. For me, I also think too, Telmore Place really is the best part of the work council's done in the CBD redevelopment. So I think it probably should be elevated in its sort of status. And I think having the car park similarly named sort of helps define more clearly this civic space that's towards the end, closer to the river. Those are my views. I also share the views of Councillor Madden when it comes to costs. We've had some preliminary figures suggested. I think they're probably a bit high. I know a lot of things in the public sector end up being a bit higher than what you would expect in your private capacity as a person, but I don't see a huge level of financial risk, and I think it's something that the council should, properly consider this morning.
Thank you. I'll open it for other discussion. Can I ask a question, Councillor Madden?
Sure.
If that's okay. I'm just asking, why do you assume that the name of the car park is causing the issues of people finding it? Because I kind of thought it was the physical location as opposed to the name. I'm just curious to see.
I guess the answer to that question, I don't want to criticise council's officers or council. I don't want to criticise.
Councillors named it last term.
Yeah, no. Just,
That's okay.
if you
I'm open for the criticism.
If you just let me finish.
Yeah.
I was reluctant to go down the road of talking about the success in marketing Nicholas Street Precinct as a precinct. But I've never had anyone come up to me and say, I'm going out to dinner at Telmore Precinct. That's why I was reluctant to go down this road. I guess it's best to give an example, Mayor. Recently we had this New Zealand celebrations with the treaty, and that was advertised as being in the Nicholas Street Precinct, but the entire event was held at Telmore Place. It didn't go beyond Telmore Place. So I think there's two different things, and when I say I only want one sign changed, the sign that I have no objection to leaving at the Bremer Street end of the car park building is a sign that says a Nicholas Street Precinct. Because I accept the Nicholas Street Precinct runs from basically the wall at Bremer Street through to at least Limestone Street, taken into case Darcy Doyle Place. But I think we need to let people know that there is such a place at Telmore Place. And I've noticed, again, I'm reluctant to go down this road too much, Mayor, but I noticed with all of our advertising now when we have an event at the square, Telmore Place, it doesn't actually say Telmore Place. It says Nicholas Street Precinct, even when it's only at Telmore Place. So I'm just looking at an opportunity, as Councillor Madsen has said, I'm just looking at an opportunity to brand Telmore Place better. I really have no objections if the marketing people want to continue to say an event is at Nicholas Street Precinct when they should really be saying it's at Telmore Place. But I do think Council did a great thing in naming such an important area of Ipswich after the traditional name for this area, and I want to see that more branded. And I believe, and this is probably getting closer to answering your question, Mayor, I think people, because they're not accepting of the brand Nicholas Street Precinct, I think they're more accepting of knowing, they're all heading towards Telmore Place. They're more accepting of getting to the car park under Telmore Place. That's it.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I was trying
like
to
I said, I didn't really want to go down that
No,
road.
it's okay. Just keen to know the motivation and your thought process.
Yes.
In speaking to it, I appreciate that in putting this notice of motion forward, Councillor Madden believes he's making it easier for residents to find our car park. However, I don't believe that this proposed change will actually change that. If anything, I think this change will make it more confusing for residents and visitors to the Nicholas Street Precinct. The primary issue with visitors finding the entry to the car park, I have found, isn't its name, it's the location. It is a bit of an out of the way, it can be a hard spot to find if you're unfamiliar with the car park entrance. However, Council has already taken steps to address this issue through updates to platforms such as Google, Apple and Waze Maps, and that did take 3 years to do, and it did happen about 12 months ago. We have received advice from Council that once you've done that, it does make things quicker, so I don't expect it will take 3 years to change that again, but certainly the last 12 months it's been much easier and I've had no issues. My other concern is also that in my mind, that this motion doesn't comply with our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Community Engagement Guide. Ipswich City Council has made a commitment for culturally responsive engagement. If I could just read a couple of excerpts from that guide, and 3.1 is commitment to culturally responsive engagement. And it talks about when considering the need and approach to engagement on a topic or activity, it's critical to ensure that significant policy program and service decisions that affect traditional owners and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities are not made without their full involvement. And it's also important that engagement is culturally responsive to ensure equity and respect as well. And Council did make that commitment to make a few things, and we've committed to ensure that traditional owners and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities are informed and receive timely responses about potential existing and future engagement processes and the right to be actively engaged in decision making. We also committed to ensuring engagement practices empower Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to make informed decisions about all options available. We also committed to provide appropriate timeframes for engagement representative groups to take information back to their family groups for consideration, collaboration and decision making, and then provide Council with a response. I won't go on to the others, but obviously there's quite a bit about the commitment that we have made. My other thing is I appreciate that you've received a quote from a local company The CEO has advised us all in writing that there are 9 signs that at least would need to be changed and would cost residents in excess of over $50,000 as the cost several years ago. I do have an issue during a cost of living crisis when we're sitting here going through our budget and looking at line items of how we improve services and provide great services for our community. To spend another $50,000 plus during a cost of living crisis is something that I can't abide by. And I guess being a councillor last term, we did spend a lot of time as councillors in the naming of the things around the precinct as well. So I think that, and also ratepayers have spent a considerable amount of money into the Nicholas Street precinct branding. That's one of the things we have to do as the owner of the CBD redevelopment here. To ignore the expert advice on that branding through the redevelopment is not something that I'm comfortable with as well. So for me, it's not good enough that we're just asking Ipswich ratepayers to pick up the bill, and so I won't be supporting this. I think it's a very considered notice of motion by yourself, Councillor Madden. I noticed that there were 2 things that you mentioned. You talked about Waitangi Day just being in Toowoomba Place. It actually went to the Nicholas Street precinct up past the library as well. And I've got to say I have had the opposite experience that whenever you're meeting someone for dinner, I've never said, let's meet for dinner at Toowoomba Place, because there's actually no restaurants in Toowoomba Place. Everyone always says, meet at Nicholas Street Precinct. So that's what my adult children say as well. We'll meet at the top of Nicholas Street Precinct. We'll find out where we'll go from there. So I guess we've all had different experiences. So I just thought I'd share mine as well. And I'll hand over to other people to speak. I think Councillor Augustine's had her light on the longest. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Madden, for bringing this notice of motion forward. I've said previously that I too have some issues with the naming, and then the Mayor's also alluded to maybe it might be the location. I feel that as well. But my overarching place where I'm at with this motion is that I really think that we can't assume that our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander friends will naturally just approve this. I think we need to consult them to be able to get their approval first, and then we can go forward with looking at renaming it. So that's so I've been in 2 minds. I understand the pains that come with the different namings, the location of where where you pop up, where you actually drive in. There's a whole heap of different things that add to problematic when people come into the city to be able to find this car park. But I do really think we need to firstly, before we go forward with this, actually go and get approval 100% from our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander friends. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Councillor Doyle, you've put your...
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Augustine has already spoken to this. So I just want to add that I think it was mentioned that there is a low risk in offending our First Nations people by a decision like this made today. I would put forward that there should be no risk at all. It is why we have our terms of engagement in place. It's very clear. It's very simple and very easy to consult within council, ask our First Nations staff what they think.
Thank you. Yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean it in the way that has been intended. I actually agree with the risk that Councillor Doyle has raised with my wording. I would actually be keen to understand how those conventions work with traditional owners. I haven't yet suggested an amendment to include that engagement because I didn't want to confuse debate on what is Councillor Madden's motion. And, you know, I would suggest that if the view of some people is that they want to proceed with this and do that engagement, we could do that as an amendment. But I must say I had an underlying assumption that a lot of people were just going to vote it down.
Sure.
So that's a secondary reason why I haven't suggested the amendment. Previously, I've actually wanted the council to do those sorts of things firsthand, and we've had this discussion where I've been the one explaining that. So I understand the gravity and the importance of that, but I just wanted to make those comments to steer the rest of the debate.
Okay. Look, judging on some of what I'm hearing, I'd like to put forward a procedural motion to probably defer this matter till probably our May meeting, if that's okay. I'm looking around the room. Do I have anyone who would second that motion of deferring to May?
Just
Tully?
before you proceed, could
I
I
thought you
just raise
were going to second it for me.
No, just a point of
hopeful.
order. No, this is important. It's about the wording in paragraph B.
Yep.
It talks about one sign at the start of B, and the with signs and possible sign at the entrance be removed as soon and replaced with sign that, well, it should be sign. Well, a sign that says, if that's the intention. I think originally when we saw it, it had the plural in there still.
I'll just double check Councillor Madden and Councillor Madsen are okay with adding A and then an S at the end of says in B.
Sorry.
You're okay, Councillor Madden? Yep, Councillor Madsen? Thank you.
I'm happy to second that for discussion about what the best way to proceed is.
I guess I've put forward a procedural motion, so that's what we were looking at, that we would defer till May, and Councillor Tully has seconded that. Any discussion just on the deferral?
Did you say March or May?
Oh, May, yes.
My only issue is if further discussion is deferred. So if people don't want to pursue a name change, I think it's better for that actually to be set today. And secondarily, if people want to go down a path of engagement or something like that, I would want that guidance before agreeing to a deferral. Because if we're just going to defer the matter and then not actually progress it, I find that a bit problematic, given that we can provide a level of direction today. Thank you.
So suggesting a deferral and a workshop?
Well, I think there should be from what look, these are really difficult issues.
Yeah.
Like they come up. We had another very difficult issue earlier. I think what I'm hearing is that it's not just deferring it to another day, but it's to have the appropriate consultation, which I know there's two views that I've heard, that consultation's not required under what I call the protocol with our Aboriginal community, and the other, is that it is. I think, even though I'd seconded, I didn't look up to see the exact wording. I thought that was going to incorporate, had incorporated a process of consultation, and I think that's important. I wouldn't be happy just to defer it for no reason.
So I'm happy to move that the matter be deferred and consultation, or should I say consultation to occur. I'm just concerned if consultation, I'm seeking advice on whether we need consultation, I guess, because basically everything I've got from council means we should be doing consultation.
I think, sorry, Chair, if I may.
Yeah, please,
I think
Councillor.
certainly from my perspective and what I've heard from a couple of others, it's not only further advice on whether consultation is actually required, but there's a separate issue around operationally whether it's needed or not. So it's certainly giving us additional time to work as a group on the First Nations aspect and seeking
and the costs.
Their input, get some firm quotes, and certainly get some specific advice around whether or not operationally the car park should be renamed, needs to be renamed, what's the benefits of doing that and what's the downside. So I see that looking like a workshop or a briefing session, and also just want to note that I was the one that raised the Black Drum report. All that information is available. Certainly I was across it because I was on council last term, but all of that information should be made available to the new councillors.
It's publicly available, I think, with the...
It's publicly available, but it wasn't raised until I raised the Black Drum report. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to nut out. I get a feeling that everyone wants to be respectful and probably don't feel as though they have all the information they need to make a decision. That's the feeling I'm getting here. Councillor Tully, do you have a suggestion for how I could change my procedural motion?
To add the words.
Do you mind adding?
Yeah, and I'm always reluctant to sort of do wordsmithing on the run. To enable appropriate consultation to take place before a decision is made.
I'm happy with that. Those two.
Seeking one.
Sorry, I'm still working with Councillor Tully on that. Sorry, Councillor Madden. So that's
can I just, just to explain the wording, that enables workshops and everything internally, but the consultation I see is what others have mentioned about either the need to or just the desirability of it. I'm hearing two different things about whether there really is a need under our protocol.
Okay, thank you. So the procedural motion before us is to defer it until May meeting to enable appropriate consultation to take place before a decision is made. I think, Councillor Madden, I think Councillor Tinley, the next two of you were next wanting to speak. Councillor Madden?
I have with that amendment is it's missing the word consultation with the Indigenous community, but also I think we need advice from council officers as to how we facilitate consulting with the Aboriginal community.
I quite like the fact that the consultation was a bit open-ended to give us the leeway to do the appropriate it says appropriate consultation,
Well,
which would include...
If I was going to do that amendment, I'd say seek advice from council officers as to how we can communicate, what's the appropriate consultation with the Aboriginal community. We've zeroed it down through the drum report. We've zeroed it down that we need to consult with the Aboriginal community, and Councillor Augustine's mentioned this. That just simply saying consultation, means the entire community.
Okay.
So I would agree to this but I think we really need to get council officers to advise us as to how we consult with the Indigenous community.
Thank you. Councillor Tinley has been waiting a while. Councillor Tinley? I know it's just on the deferral, not on the matter itself.
Look, with respect to the matter itself, I think the issue that has been raised is, what consultation we do. I understand where Councillor Madsen was coming from with respect to the low risk. The car park is directly below Tolmer Place. The place has been named. It is associated with, we do know that previously it was the Ipswich City Square car park, and Ipswich City Square was that area. Look, with respect to the naming of the Nicholas Street precinct, that name in itself will take time to take hold in the mindset of people. For a lot of people, they're still referring to it as the Ipswich Mall. I still use the term the Ipswich Mall. We've had 40 years of the Ipswich Mall. So to get into that mindset of calling it the Nicholas Street precinct will take time. But the issue of the car park itself, for mine, the issue of the car park, naming it the Nicholas Street Precinct car park, is that it's not accessed via Nicholas Street. And that's where the confusion, I suspect, really lies, regardless of whether you use Google Maps or the like. I'm just saying. No, I recognise that, but what I'm saying is that you don't enter it via Nicholas Street in your car. So for visitors and that, it could be relatively confusing. So, but I do think it warrants further discussion, and I would be supportive of the proposed deferment.
Thank you. I'm keen to keep the word appropriate consultation. I think it's broad enough. I don't want to narrow us. I don't want a situation where something comes up and we can't do it because our council resolution said that we could only consult with council officers. So I'm keen to leave it as it is. Councillor Tully, you've got your light on?
I always try to find a solution
Yes.
across the board. I agree with that, but I also agree with what Councillor Madden said, and I think we can achieve this, and I've just sent it to the committee clerk, to, after the word consultation, to put in brackets, including with the Aboriginal community. Close brackets, to make it clear that it would be one definite
all
part
First
of the
Nations
consultation.
community. Yeah. Or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander or First Nations,
Yeah. Well, Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander community.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or just Aboriginal, yeah, with including with the Aboriginal community. That's in brackets after the word consultation. That's what do people consider?
Well, how about you
is
take
it
the
just
words from the Black Drum report?
So can I have people put their microphones on? It's not fair. We live stream. People need to hear what you're saying. So Councillor Tully has put forward that the matter be deferred until the May meeting to enable appropriate consultation, including with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, out of brackets, to take place before a decision is made. I'm comfortable with that.
I think, sorry, was it meant to be May or March? I thought May was initially set.
May. It says May. Did I say March again, did I?
I thought
It says May.
Oh, you may.
I must admit, I saw clarity because I wondered whether you had misspoke in saying May. I didn't know whether you were
May.
delaying it 1 month or 2 months.
I think I
Or
need to
3
give the
months, sorry.
organisation time. I think that the timelines, they'd have to have something to us. Yeah, yeah.
I just, people are wiser than me on this. Is it just the Aboriginal community? Is that our reference sort of group, or is it?
I guess I'm wanting to have it pretty open, so I don't want a situation where we're tied in. I'm not saying we have to go to the entire community, but I don't want us to tie us in,
Well,
and then not be able to proceed because we have a council resolution that wasn't flexible enough, I guess.
well, okay, I'm happy for that.
Okay, thank you.
I've said I've moved it. I've
Okay.
moved that amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle, you'd like to say?
Councillor Tully had a question of me around that. So just, the Black Drum reports
Yes.
refers to the local First Nations community. Very separately to that, we obviously have within council our own group. Now, that's not to say we are wedded or bound by the Black Drum recommendation. We may in fact take advice from our internal First Nations group. So I think that will adequately address what option council sees fit going forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the procedural motion? Okay, then I guess as a right of reply, I'm sensing that the people want to have a respectful way forward and a respectful discussion. So I guess I'll put it to the people, and thank you, Councillor Tully, for seconding this. I'll put it to the vote, this particular procedural motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. So it's unanimous. So, Councillor Doyle, did you have your hand up? Yep, it's unanimous and carried. Thank you so much. So that's the procedural motion. So thank you very much for all working together on that. I really do appreciate it. I think our community appreciates it as well. Item 18 is questions on notice, and you'll find that the council organisation is now putting the questions on notice that have come up from the previous meeting and given the written one here. So I won't go through them, but obviously there's 1, 2, 3, 4 questions on notice across matters to do with woolen mills and other matters there. So I'll leave that there. And pardon me.
Is there anything procedural to happen with respect
No,
to
this is
those?
just, I'm just, normally it just says questions on notice, and it's a time usually for you to give questions on notice, but the organisation has put this here. So these are the questions on notice from the last council meeting. I'm just acknowledging that they're there for people to read.
Right.
I just got a typo question about it. Page 168 of 70, the heading to this general item says item 19, questions on notice. It should be item 18.
Yes, mine says 18.
Well, the printed one that I've got says.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
right
It
up
says
the
9.
top. Yeah, the
you
items
are right.
are
It says
numbered as
19 and then
18.
18.1.
Yeah, but the top thing is incorrect.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
if that could be corrected, please.
Let's have it. Vicky's nodding
Yeah,
her head.
I really don't.
Thank you.
People think I read every word of every line.
You
but-
do.
Nothing escapes you,
I'll
Councillor
close-
Tully.
No, I don't.
On that, I'll close the meeting at 12:11 p.m. Thank you.